HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, it's almost food plot season, Jared, and Deer Grow is one of those products that has really changed the way that we plant food plots and the success we've seen from them.
No doubt. I've been, trying to plant food plots my entire whitetail hunting career, which is a little shorter than yours. But the minute that I started, or that I realized that I could get Deer Grow back into some of these remote plots where I couldn't get lime or fertilizer, especially in the 50-pound bag, format. Mm-hmm. So everything was changed. I could get into these spots moving forward with a backpack sprayer, and that's since escalated to these 40 or 60 gallon sprayers, and we're doing upwards of 5 to 10 acre food plots just with Deer Grow and having phenomenal success.
Yeah, and with the price of fertilizer, lime, diesel, everything this year, what better way to get in there and grow a successful food plot at about a third of the cost? Check out Deer Grow at deergrow.com. And we're back.
Hey,
HUNTR Podcast 127, as Nick keeps us in line. Nick, you know what I read in a comment the other day is somebody detected your giggle. And it wasn't, it was very made clear that it wasn't Nick laughing. He was actually giggling.
I think maybe I just giggle more than laugh.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, that's just Nick.
Was that right under the comment about my baldness? Or the 2 or 3 comments above it?
Oh, yeah,
Well,
I didn't realize.
I don't know if it was baldness as much as
bun.
they just thought you looked like a baby.
Cut the bun.
I said, sons of bitches.
The one guy was like,
Oh,
he thought you were a guest in
I
studio.
know. We
Same
talked about
thing
this at
going on.
ATA.
It looks great.
It was summer cut. It's a lot of hair.
You know what? I'm owning it. I went from full man bun to, she's coming back on me pretty quick. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Jeans.
It's a lot of hair for the summertime, man.
Well, it's more than that, dude. I'm going to be bald here in a matter of 10 years.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
Whatever.
What do you mean let it go?
Let it go. Shave it off.
Oh, I'm going to.
Yeah.
He's done that before.
Yeah. Well, that was honestly the move. I was like, I had way too much party in the back for, the business.
There's a lot of, I think it was a lot of weight balance pulling back even further.
Yeah.
Really putting the stress on that hairline.
I'll be honest, I had a little bit of self-consciousness. I couldn't go to the gym and take my hat off, and I was I was just like, it just doesn't make sense to have this gorgeous of locks in the back with this, this in the front, right? So
James hairline.
I was like, I gotta even this out and just land somewhere in the middle,
See, I do the slick back, just kind of hides it a little
Oh,
bit.
he's been doing the slick back for
Very nice.
years.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
He looks like an Italian.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
That's
Well, see, mine was just
aerodynamic.
mine was just I just wore a hat for 10 years straight.
Well, it's like the first podcast you've done without a hat. That's why I think everybody pulled
I think it was
out.
the very first podcast.
Yeah.
So that's all right. I'm all right with it.
In 10 years, we'll both be bald, so it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Not worried about it.
Hey. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. That's how it goes. Well, icebreaker. We have in studio guests today.
Woo.
So we got Allie DeAndrea, Nick
Hello.
Berger. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm pumped about this.
And
Thank you guys for making it happen.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
Of course.
It's been a long time coming, I think, in discussions. Because Allie, you joined us at ATA 2021 or 22? 22?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
2 years ago.
Yes. It was 1 or 2. I can't remember.
Yeah. And so I think it was the three of us and
it was
Jeff.
last year.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, when we did it. Yeah, 22.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think since then we kind of talked about hey, you guys are up in Pennsylvania pretty often, split the time between there and Florida.
It was
and we
you
should get
and
in at some
Sturgis,
point.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting combo.
It was fun.
How did that happen?
I think we were all just kind of in the booth at the same time.
Everybody
and we
just
were like,
sat
let's
down and
do
we're
it.
like headphones
We were
on?
drinking a
We
little
had a
bit
cooler
too.
full of beer, I think
Yeah.
is how it
Right.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah, at ATA, if you've got a cooler full of beer, you definitely
Especially
attract
now.
the party.
Jeff's the man. We like Jeff a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, love Jeff.
Jeff's a regular on the show. We had we only spent a day at ATA this year. It just wasn't
Same.
I don't
Yeah.
know. We kind of passed through for a day and we're like, all right, what are we gonna do? Go home? And we did.
Got what we needed.
Yeah.
In and out.
We like to have the booth and the podcast there, and it's something I consider in the future, but it just, I don't know, didn't make sense.
Well, we saw you guys. Yeah, we talked to
Yep.
you for
Yeah, we
longer than we
did.
talked to anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have it's in St. Louis this year.
Yeah.
Hey, nobody want to walk around downtown St. Louis.
We're going to be there a lot this year.
I'm actually excited about SHOT Show this year.
You are.
Yeah, Nick and I went to CES earlier this year, which totally different scene, totally different vibe. And we didn't do that much with the trade show itself, but I don't know why when I was younger, I hated going to Vegas.
Yeah.
It was just overwhelming, not fun. But for some reason now as an adult, I'm like, oh, actually, I had a nice time for 2 nights in Vegas.
Yeah, you have to minimize it a little bit.
Yeah, and so I'm actually looking forward to SHOT Show this next year because I feel like we'll be able to get a lot of what we normally have to split across like 3 shows.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get it done in one show and just like, I don't know,
And
enjoy. Enjoy having a little fun for just like a pocket of time and then leave and be like,
well, they're having
I'm glad I'm not there all the time.
They're having an archery section at SHOT this year too, which I don't know. Really? It'll be interesting to see, who comes or what it looks like.
There's not even an archery section at ATA.
I know. I mean, that's just how it is anymore. Oh. So I don't know what it'll be like, but yeah. I mean, have you gone to SHOT Show with me before?
Mm-hmm. Once.
Yeah, and I took Alex this year with me, and yeah, it's fun. I mean, if you're there for like the full week, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's a grind.
But we were there for 2-3 days, and lost a shitload of money and did some business and.
Did you win any at the Derby?
Okay, so...
Oh, yeah, let's hear about this Derby
thing. So went to Kentucky Derby last Saturday. So my wife's a Kentucky girl. This is like, her dream, and I love gambling, so it kind of works out. And so, I mean, it was insane. There was 158,000 people at that thing. Woo. Like, I mean, it was packed.
The arena's like dedicated for horse racing, right? That's correct. All they do there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky.
A couple times a year, or all year they're having amateur races?
So they do spring races, then they stop in the summer when it gets hot, then they do fall races, and then they shut it down again. So there's just certain race times, but this is the big one. Okay. So we get there at gates open at 9:30ish or so. Get there at gates open.
What time did you start drinking?
9:31.
No pregame.
No pregame. No. Wow. No pregame.
So mature of you.
Yeah, I know, right? I could see myself needing to be paced through there. You got to remember, I've been on kind of a cleanse here.
A horse
recently.
pun for you there. Nice.
Yeah, you see that?
Uh-huh.
So 9:31 start drinking. Get in there, and it's kind of nice because there's not that many people there right away.
That early.
Yeah, that early. But there are 13 races through the day. So Kentucky Derby is race number 11 at 7 o'clock in the evening.
That's a lot of races.
Yeah, and so it starts pretty fast and furious in terms of it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes between races, and then it starts to get longer, like an hour and 20 minutes between races. So kind of out of the gate, you better place your bet, get out there, watch the horses, figure out who you're betting on the next one, cash if you won, rebet.
Are some of the horses racing in multiple?
No.
Multiple. It's not. There's no qualifier rounds or okay.
All single races, and I mean they're big payouts. Like the first races are the least paying races, like for purses. Yeah. And then it goes up to the Derby, which is a huge purse, and then the last 2 races are kind of going back down. So I'm not gonna get into the crazy details of it, but my wife's kind of she bets on are they gonna get first, second, third type of thing, right? I'm trifecta, let's if we're gonna bet let's go for this stuff, right? First 3 races I hit trifectas.
Woo.
First 3, so I'm $160 in, and I've made $650, $700.
Fun.
Great. Then the inverse relationship between the number of mint juleps I took in and my winnings really came in fast. I don't think I won. I don't think I won again. Yeah. Because by race 4, I was feeling great. My wife may have even been drunk by race 4. I'm not sure.
And that was 10:30.
We're talking probably 12:30 by then.
Okay.
Yeah, and so and then it was you gotta eat, you gotta soak some of that up.
Was it hot?
Yeah, it was
for bacon.
80s. Yeah, and I was
didn't
in
have
a
one
suit.
of those big hats either. I saw you.
was
were
in a
looking
suit.
good.
Did you have a hat too?
My wife did.
Yeah.
She was fine. But yeah,
Did you get under her hat?
No.
Bring 2 ladies' clothes so I hide underneath.
Well, and so I did, I think it was Event Ticket Center or something is where I bought my tickets, third party here. And so we get up there, and I mean, dude, we are on the finish line. Finish line is right there. People were coming to our box, and we're like, hey, can we take our picture here? And we're like, yeah, I don't give a shit. And so it's 1:30, and there's nobody else. There's 6 seats in the box, and it's just her and I. There's nobody else there. And so we're betting, we're having fun. I think I did win one more race, and then it just completely went down the shitter because then they start increasing the rounds of the drinks, and it's all free. And when you're in a bar, they're just
hard to say.
Whatever you want. Yeah, I mean, it's hot. I'm thirsty.
Yeah,
stay
hydrated.
Yeah, I got to stay hydrated. Eventually, I started going on this round. So it's a big celebrity event too, right? So at probably 2:30.
See any celebs?
I did.
Yeah.
Saw Chris Evans, Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Love Marvel movies.
Yeah, there you go. It was like 2:30, 3 o'clock. I had heard rumors of street tacos being out there somewhere. Don't know where. I just knew they were out there. So I started going on this little kind of drunken
It's
venture.
like classic Jeremy Flynn expedition.
This is.
I heard wind of street tacos.
Yeah, and
Leave your
so
wife.
6 mint juleps
Stay
in.
there. I'll be
yeah,
back.
she did. She
I'll be
stayed.
back.
And so I go out and, I'm asking all these, different helpers. Finally, somebody says, well, I know where the nachos are. And I was like, well, if there's nachos, it's probably street tacos, right? It makes sense. They're like, you have to go clear to this other end, down by the VIP tents. I was like, all right. Go the whole way down to the end, find this person with nachos. They have no idea what I'm talking about. The only thing they can tell me is they're like, well, if you go in the elevator up there, that's probably where the street tacos are. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. So I go over there. There's 2 guys who are like, yeah, no, you're not going up there.
Elevator? It's
And
up
I was
there?
like,
Your
I was
bracelet's
like,
the wrong color.
well, yeah, exactly. I was like, well, they told me I'm supposed to go up here. And the guys look at him and he's like, yeah, send him up. And he's like, okay, go ahead. So I go up to like not Millionaire's Row, but probably the one underneath. And as soon as I get off, I'm like, oh, shit, I am not supposed to be here. But you just got to play it cool.
Yeah.
Because there could have also been tacos. We don't know yet. And so
Tacos and millionaires.
yeah. So I get off, I'm looking around. They've got their own like betting machines up there. There's no lines. It's like, there's the betting machines. Yeah, just walk around, grab a drink, just kind of play my thing. And so I get over to where it goes up to like the Millionaire's Row. And I was like, oh, there's Chris Evans. Like, I was like, Captain
Chris,
America.
what's up, man? Yeah.
Hey, what's up? Guy Shield?
Shield.
Good.
Yeah,
nice. And then
My
eventually,
dad loves your shit.
eventually Guy finds me and he's like, dude, you're not supposed to be up here. I was like, listen, they just told me that there's tacos up here. That's why I'm here. And they're like, no.
How do they know? Like, would you have a bracelet? Like,
Yeah, I had a bracelet on when I needed a lanyard.
I see.
So it's pretty
lanyard.
obvious.
Pretty obvious. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
else had their like picture on the lanyard, and I'm like walking around like, hey, what's going on?
You got like your Stone Red Media
Yeah.
pass.
So they send me back downstairs.
So
Moral
no
of the story:
tacos.
no tacos. Did find pizza. though.
Nachos?
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
Yeah, how
I crushed nachos on the way up the
And then
elevator.
Sunday pizza.
Yeah, and then got pizza.
Yeah.
How was the food?
It wasn't great, but I
Okay.
mean,
Really?
I was pretty wasted, so it tasted like they had chicken
Yeah.
fingers and it was free.
So was it kind of like ballpark?
yeah, it was
vibes?
ballpark.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I would expect it to be a little more.
You would think.
Yeah, a little more buttoned up.
I think the floor I was on was probably more buttoned up,
Mm-hmm.
but us peasants was not. Which actually, the peasants were in the infield. Like that was the place. It was like $100 to sit there, and it's a party down there.
Nice.
We're at least in box. But I mean, overall it was fun. But
That's really cool.
really cool experience to like. I mean, the amount of money that's like just flying around that place is insane. Just like, we had this guy next to us. He owns a vineyard outside of DC. Super cool guy. His name was JC. So he was adamant. I called him Jesus Christ. He was adamant the entire
Just
time.
call me,
That's
just call me
what I had to call.
JC.
And I was
My
like,
friends call me
yeah.
JC.
I was like, okay, that's fine, man. And but like there was, I don't know if you saw it on, I don't know if it was Facebook or there was a huge fight that broke out in like the nice area where we were at. And like dude looked like his eyeball got like knocked out his head. And I still don't know what happened, but I saw the commotion. I was kind of just screaming at it or whatever. But yeah, it was like later on we saw it on the news and I was like, oh my God, that guy almost died.
Damn.
Some drunk girl behind him like, fuck you, we f***ing hate you. Just that kind of crowd. So
No good.
got pretty rowdy.
This wasn't you.
Yeah, it wasn't me. Then the storms rolled in right after Derby. Like the 2 races were left. We were going to hang around. Storms started coming in. So we're like, shit, we got to get out of here. So I pulled the classic me. We ran for quite a while.
Yeah.
I'm a runner. When I get drunk and it's time to like fight or flight, I run. Yeah, so I don't know how far we ran.
You
Like
got to hang on to a
How
wrist.
did
or
those
something.
nachos not come up? They did.
later
A
on,
lot of
yeah, later on,
experience.
we were back at my wife's uncle's place. He has like this big like cookout and stuff for the Derby. And I just remember like sitting there with like brisket or something like half hanging out of my mouth. Like, where am I? Like, what just happened? And then I was in rough shape all of Sunday. Getting too old for that shit.
Still recovering? Is that what you said earlier?
My liver probably is, but I'm gonna be 40 soon.
Woo! When's your birthday?
Next April.
Okay.
So yeah, I got a year, but still.
It sticks with you, man. It probably always has, but it's just like it seems like it's a 2-3 day thing. Like drinking that much.
I was just tired. more than anything.
Yeah.
I also had to drive 7 hours back on Sunday.
Yeah, that's the killer.
Doesn't
Yeah,
help
that
me.
was not
That's the
fun.
killer.
She slept.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I don't know why you're.
Why are you so tired?
Yeah.
I was tired. Yeah. But no, it was a cool, bucket list kind of event to be at, which was cool. So, and we had good weather, which pretty unpredictable at that time of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good
That's awesome.
time. So anyways, it is, what is today? May 12th?
11 or 12. Yeah.
Friday.
May
Friday
12th?
the 12th.
The 12th.
Yeah, it is.
So
It's 12th.
you guys are up here right now. Obviously, unlike most of the country, we are still in turkey season here in
Mhm.
Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Most places have been done, or people aren't even thinking about it anymore. Is that what you guys have kind of been into up at? Oh, I guess tell us a little bit about your linkage to Pennsylvania, because I think some people understand or see you guys hunting in Pennsylvania, but they also see you guys in Florida a lot.
Yeah.
From a split time. So I guess, tell us about yours and Nick's link to Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So Nick and I, we've been together since high school. We both grew up in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Both went to college around the Pittsburgh area.
Pitt.
Yeah. Well, you went to Duquesne for a little
For a little
bit.
Where'd you go?
Pitt. Yeah. I feel like we've had this conversation.
What dorm did you stay in?
Oh, geez, I can't remember.
I was in Towers.
Martin's or Towers?
Ann's.
Towers
I stayed in
freshman year.
Towers.
Yeah.
Ann's. St. Ann's.
Ugh.
Oh, that was brutal.
Or you
So wait,
special ed?
Does
I
Pitt and
I
Duquesne
didn't
share the same
enjoy it.
towers?
No.
I'm pretty sure that's what
But
the
he
gifted
was
kids
at-
are at, actually.
He was
Well, I
at
was
Duquesne
gifted.
for a year or
No,
2 years.
I played baseball
played
my
baseball
freshman
there.
year.
Yeah.
They cut the program. I stayed sophomore year because my scholarship was honored,
Mm-hmm.
and then I transferred.
Yeah. And then we were in like apartments off campus,
Yeah.
like on campus, but off campus at Pitt. And
Pitt was fun.
Pitt was a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look back on that really fondly.
Not as good as Penn State, but yeah, it's good.
I actually wanted to go to Penn State, but they didn't want anything to do with it.
We would have loved to have you there.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
It happens.
And then long story short, we've ended up in Florida. So we bought a house there last year.
Mm-hmm.
We live there now. Like Florida's our home now.
Yep.
And I killed a turkey there over
I saw that.
2 months ago.
Isn't that crazy?
That's how like spread out these turkey seasons are. It was opening weekend, first weekend of March. And that really was like kickoff and almost like end of turkey season for us there. We did a little bit more hunting there. Nick had a cool tag.
Didn't feel it.
Didn't fill it. It was fun, but
Close.
tough. And then we decided to fly back to Pennsylvania for a week and give turkey hunting a go here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're
Um,
just getting fired up, basically.
Yeah. And we've hunted the last like 5 days here, and then we'll be back in Florida. So that's the tie to Pennsylvania.
It's an interesting thing because you see so many of these people when you have the ability to be mobile, let's say, like Crispy and Caitlin, they all moved to Iowa, right? Because it's like, oh, well, let's move to Iowa so we can be Iowa residents
Sure.
and have Iowa tags.
Yeah.
You guys didn't take that stance.
No, actually, our decision for Florida, I think, is the most like off the wall, misunderstood move. Because to anybody who loves deer hunting, like
Yeah.
that's the last
Yeah,
place
Florida's
that you
not
would
the
move
one.
to.
Right.
And just in general, I feel like it was never like we lived in Idaho for a bit. So if anything, I feel like it would have made sense for us to be somewhere like that, Idaho,
Yeah.
Montana, or Pennsylvania,
Get
just
that.
to like
We have
be where our
family
family's
in
at.
Florida too, right?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So we started going to Florida as we were in this sort of like limbo stage where we had just started our own business. This was back in 2018. We were living on the road for a while, kind of between Idaho, Pennsylvania, and Florida.
It's a lot of geography
entire
to cover.
country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Do you guys know where the United States is? Yeah, we were there.
We towed a travel trailer one summer, all summer long.
Ugh.
We
out of that
lived
thing.
out of the travel
Oh.
trailer for 6 months.
Wow.
I mean, that sounds fun. That sounds like a lot of gas.
It was
money,
fun,
though.
but it was just, you
Trump was probably
live
still in
out of a
office.
trailer.
It was cheap gas.
Can't showers stink.
Yeah.
There's no good toilet. You end up digging a hole.
Yeah.
It's fun every once in a while.
Nick does that already. That's just
No big deal.
It's like,
He prefers it.
yeah.
Dude, same.
But we saw every corner
Yeah.
of the country.
Which is
Every
cool
corner.
because, I
Yeah.
mean, how many people always say, like, hey, I'm going to do that? They don't.
Yeah.
They just don't ever do
Yeah.
it.
Well, also, it was hard to do that while maintaining a job and like
Sure.
working.
Yeah.
It was even just like finding a place to wash your clothes was difficult. Like
Yeah.
that was what life was. It's like, where are we going to get water? Where are we going to take a shower? What, like, let
Yeah.
alone where are we going to get internet and edit this video and upload it?
Yeah.
And that was the business you're referring to, right? Like, was
Yeah.
your Outdoor Alley?
Yes, the Outdoors Alley brand.
Yeah, we were also managing either 1 or 2 social media accounts, so that was
Mhm.
good, steady income.
Sure.
Yeah.
All we needed to do was go to a coffee shop. We could do TikTok,
Yeah,
Twitter, whatever.
load some
Not
stuff.
TikTok
not
wasn't
TikTok
around
at
back
that point.
then.
Mhm.
Instagram.
Nick invented it.
Yeah. I'm not even
He's
on
very
it.
modest.
It was
He's
still
very modest.
musically back then.
You've heard of TikTok?
Whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No,
But
for
then,
sure.
yeah, we ended up in Florida. And it's a good decision.
Oh yeah, I guess that was like the roundabout way of getting to this. For us, we found that every time that we were in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
we were the most balanced. We could be outside all of the time because the weather's
Yeah.
phenomenal all of the time. There's hunting opportunities for whitetail and turkey. And turkey's phenomenal just in
Hogs.
terms of like,
All
Yeah.
kinds.
it's one of like Osceola turkeys are only found
Yeah, that's it.
in the southern tip of Florida, not even the northern half of Florida. Some people like to pretend like their Osceolas up there, but they're
All
not. They're
Easterns.
mixed with Easterns.
Mm-hmm.
The true Osceolas are,
Purebloods.
are in the south. So it's like a really special, like that's really special in itself. And then there's fishing. So like the world of fishing, some of the best fishing in the entire country. And still having hunting opportunities and having the lifestyle where we could be like fit and active and healthy and balanced and have some family. And plus being from Pittsburgh, like our families love to come to
Oh,
Florida.
I guarantee it.
It's
yeah.
like, it's so easy to get them there.
Yep.
When we were in Idaho,
Yeah.
like no visitors.
Didn't
it was
happen.
so
Yeah.
difficult. They
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
care less.
yeah,
That's a full
Southwest,
day
like
trip.
Pittsburgh
Forget
to
Idaho's
Orlando
out
is
there.
like,
Yeah.
That's Idaho's a long way away.
Oh, yeah.
yes,
It was like
It butts
3
up to
planes.
Washington, doesn't it?
yes.
Yes,
And Oregon.
Washington and
Yep.
Oregon and technically
Forget about
Canada.
Oregon.
On the
Yeah.
other side of Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what is that? 30 hours from here?
Yes,
30 I
actually,
think it was
yeah.
31. on the
Ugh.
dot.
Yeah.
And that's driving 80. With the travel trailer, it's like 45.
Yeah.
It was, and we did that, I don't know, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I think more.
Maybe
It was
more.
years of that.
What took you
Mm.
guys out to Idaho?
I was working for First Light.
Okay.
Mm.
And they
Mhm.
required that you be there?
No, it was
You just-
like,
it was an opportunity.
yeah, this was 2015. And
They were based out of Idaho?
yes, and they still are.
Are they?
Yes.
I didn't know if they would move to Montana with the meat eater side of things. or
and
not.
they may at some point, but they're still in Idaho. And I had so my degree from Pitt is in emergency medicine.
Mhm.
And actually we've talked about this.
Yeah.
So I was,
Jared was EMS.
yes. So I trained to become an EMT and then a paramedic. And then
Did you work around here?
No. So we've also talked about this too.
His memory's a little bit
yes,
fuzzy.
but
Come on,
no,
man.
it was,
My wife tells me it is.
it was during my senior year. I was working to get all of my clinical hours. So I was in McKees Rocks and then doing rounds at like all of the hospitals.
Okay.
So I never actually got a job as a paramedic. It was during like my whole senior
Oh, well,
year
so you were,
working
you were going
as
for
an
a
intern.
medic. I was just an EMT. I was
Yeah.
like, show up.
I'm just there
Put
to
the
plug
body
a
on
hole.
the
BLS.
in, plug
Yeah.
a hole
It was
in
a
so
good,
you
it
don't
was a
bleed
good,
out.
yeah, plug these holes here.
Yeah.
It was a good thing there was a paramedic with me because I
Yeah.
was like, didn't know a lot about med. I could like the old ladies at the
Shock
nursing
'em
homes.
now? Maybe?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Charge.
That makes you feel good about calling 911.
Yeah.
You got you working on me? Come on.
He would have at least carried you out like a baby, like Big Mama. Jared's lifted a 4-wheeler off my
I
foot
took care.
before.
I took care of my
Woo.
elderly.
I just
ladies,
had to
yeah.
call Mom, and then he got the power to lift it up.
There you go.
Mom, it's on my foot.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So I was doing all of that. I pretty much had known from like early on in high school that I wanted to get into medicine. I loved I took an anatomy and physiology class in 10th grade and loved it. And I was like, this is what I'm doing. And then once I started working in medicine, I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Like I really liked learning about this, but being around sick people all the time. And plus like in EMS, I thought it was going to be super intense, like life-saving all of the time.
Yeah, it's like pulling super obese people out from behind their toilet. Like
Literally.
that's 90%
It really
of it.
is.
Like that. I'm
That's
100%
Yeah.
a
And
horrible
paperwork.
Why the hell are they
And
behind their
paperwork.
toilets?
because they fell. They fall.
They fell
They fall.
behind them.
Yeah, well, beside them.
Yeah, it's true.
Am I wrong?
No, that's
Allie
exactly
can
right.
vouch for me.
That's a lot of what EMS
That's what
is.
happens, dude. People get too overweight and they fall next to the toilets and have to call 911.
Yeah.
Oh my
a lot of
God.
people die next to their toilets, actually.
Yeah, more than you'd think.
And that's from falling next to the toilet,
fact.
overdoses, old person falls and hits their head. Like, it's slippery in there. A lot
Toilets
of things
to go
happen.
to, man. Yeah, people like
happen in
if you're not
bathrooms.
doing well, you want to be near a toilet.
It's like the dying
That's
deer to
funny.
water.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not necessarily a scientific correlation, but they do
They're
end up
just-
there quite
They're
a
there.
bit.
Did you check the toilet? That's where they're at.
I'll get out and walk this bathroom, see if I can
So
find
true.
him.
That's funny.
So I was like just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I worked in health and fitness, actually. I trained at a studio in Shadyside for this woman named Tara. Her company's called Tara Fitness. She's a phenomenal trainer. I was doing personal training with her. I was also working at the Lululemon in Shadyside and had this cool balance of like, and I was also teaching bar classes at a studio there. So I was just doing this fun
Diversity.
fitness. Yeah,
Yeah.
like always something different every day, but mostly just like buying myself time to try and figure out like what my future was going to hold. And First Light had posted on their Instagram. This was all around the time that I was getting into hunting through Nick. Neither of us grew up hunting, but while we were dating, he kind of picked it up. So we were doing it together. And there was a posting from First
Nick's like, I
Light.
taught her everything she knows.
I like to think we learned together.
Sure.
You may
Yeah,
see
that
it
sounds,
differently.
that
Sure,
sounds right.
sure.
Sure, I think so.
And
He's very gracious.
so there was a posting from First Light and it was like, we're looking for an intern. And so I showed it to Nick and I was like, you should apply for this job. And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, then I'm going to. So I did, and I got the position and got on the phone with a guy who, like a realtor or a landlord rather. And he was like, I've got this apartment, meet us here, or like meet here, I'll give you the keys. So we loaded up the truck, drove and met this landlord like in a parking lot.
In Idaho?
Signed the lease. Yep. Signed without him ever being there before.
Holy shit.
Signed the lease, moved in, and I remember sitting there in the apartment. It was a studio apartment, just looking around and being like, "Oh my god, what did we just do?"
Yeah.
You guys were done with school
But it
at that
was
point.
like-
So
Yeah.
where in
able to pick up
Idaho
and
were
go?
you?
Yeah.
Ketchum, Idaho.
Yeah.
Catch them.
Yeah,
I
like
had
South Central
just-
Idaho.
I had just finished grad school like a month before that, and you were like, "We're moving." All right, cool.
Yeah.
I don't think we got any
You were
money.
about to
but-
get some like
there baseball
cool
in
job, or
Idaho?
not cool job, nice job.
No, they're
No.
Rockies fans, I think.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rockies and Mariners.
Yeah, Mariners. would
Some
make
San
sense.
Francisco too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a hodgepodge of. At
They
least
did-
where we were, it was a lot
Yeah.
of transplants.
Yeah.
It was a cool town though.
Oh, it's a great town.
Yeah.
Love it there. Like love the
Is that
town.
near like Moscow?
No, that's
No.
pretty far north.
Is that north?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
2.5 hours from Boise.
Okay.
mhm.
That makes sense.
North-ish. Right?
Yeah.
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 And
North. Straight north.
we lived there for a while until maybe like 2017. And then I left that job to pursue what we're doing now, which is full-time
So
content
were you
creation.
an intern the entire time at First Light?
No, I was an intern answering phone calls, answering emails.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was, again, 2015. So social media was still a little bit new.
Sure.
And I was like, hey, guys, I think I can help out our Instagram page. So I started.
They're like, do we have one of those?
They did, but it was actually
Funny.
really funny because it was just like the guys at the office would just like, post whatever. Like, I don't think they really knew or care about Instagram. But I had already created my little Outdoors Allie page. So I like knew some stuff
Dude.
about creating content. But so yeah, it was kind of like precious thinking about them just like
Yeah.
trying to make some stuff. But I was like, I think I can help with this. So I became the social media manager. And then by the time I had left, I was the digital marketing manager. And I
Whoa.
was doing search engine optimization,
Holy
ads
cow.
on social.
Why the hell didn't we hire you?
Because
I was that. That was my job.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah. Well, it's funny as she was telling us. It's like it does take me back. It's funny to think about like the origin of some of these Instagram channels. It's not that like it was any big thing for me to do this, but dude, I personally created on my phone. Remember Mike Weddell's Bone
Yeah,
Collector?
Bone Collector.
The Instagram. I made it.
Whoa.
I made it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Midwest Whitetail.
Yep.
I made it.
Wow.
Probably some others that like I don't even remember.
You
but
probably still have access to them.
oh, I for sure did. Yeah.
Through Stone Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
So they were
so
the
cool.
clients.
Yeah, because
were-
like to your point, nobody like
But
didn't even know what they were.
Same
or
thing,
do
same thought
anything.
process. I was like, I can help with that. I needed to carve out a niche for myself. It's like, there's very little money in this industry to begin with. I was like, I need to make myself valuable. I need to produce income here somehow. So yeah, made this Instagram channel.
That's really cool.
That's crazy. That's not that long ago if you think about it.
No, it's not.
Really? I feel like
2015,
I mean,
you
we're
said.
on the verge of
16?
10 years ago. Like that was 2015.
dude.
Yeah,
It's
I guess
2023.
So. A decade.
Yeah.
I graduated college in 2015.
Because you came out and we hired you
I
right
started
away.
working for you almost right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I graduated in 14.
Yep.
So sorry.
Wild ride. No, I know. It's like it takes you back, but wild how quickly time passes. But yeah, that was the connection to Idaho.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So 2018-ish was like when
that
you really
was life
kind
on the
of
road.
dove
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
That
so
was
would that be when, like, I say most of us, but like, listeners and stuff, is that when we really started to see kind of the Outdoors Alley brand and content start to get pushed at that point?
Probably more specifically YouTube.
yes.
YouTube.
Yeah.
But everything had been around. Like I think I started my Instagram page in maybe like summer of 2015.
Wow.
And then YouTube in January of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been posting to those channels while I was working at First Light. And I remember literally taking my lunch break, getting on the phone with brands who are interested in working with me, and then getting right back to work. And it being this like crazy balance. And I remember us talking and one day just thinking like, what would happen if I spent all of my time on this instead of this like in the middle of like, I'm kind of doing this on the side, but like I can't really grow it without
Because at
my
that
full
time, I mean,
attention.
TV still had the major, grip
Yeah.
on everything.
Yeah. And actually,
At least the budget.
it is wild to think about like what it was like for us at like in the beginning working with brands and versus like what it is now and the sort of like growth and how we've seen the shift happen like real time.
Yeah, I mean, because we talk a lot to brands now, and I mean, it's not that they're not spending money on TV, but I mean, it's a fraction of what they were.
Yeah.
Do you think
Fraction.
so?
I know so.
You know so?
I manage a lot of those budgets.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, at least the ones that I'm involved in is a fraction
Wow,
still.
dude. I do wonder sometimes because like I've got I don't know.
Or people have adapted. Like,
Yeah.
So like the Drurys obviously have adapted to where they produce a lot of digital content now
Yeah.
in parallel with their TV stuff.
for sure.
I do see a lot of their digital content.
But there's other people who have not adapted to that, and they're making a fraction of what they were.
I just think it's so interesting. So like I have kind of a routine. Like it's not every morning, but most mornings when I wake up, I make my breakfast. I have like six eggs, 2 potatoes, my thing of sausage,
Just for Jared.
and a scramble, and I sit down. I'm weirder.
gotta feed those
I'm weirder
muscles.
than these people think here. So I eat my breakfast with chopsticks every day.
No, you don't.
I'm 100% serious. Yeah, I do.
Excuse me?
So we
My
don't.
brother
I want a
has set
goddamn
of
challenge when I
chopsticks.
start the day.
Listen, I don't know what it is. I really enjoy chopsticks.
That's
I do.
hilarious.
Yeah, cultured. I guess.
Love it.
Dude.
We eat a lot of sushi from a place called Watami, and I always ask for extra chopsticks. So, anyways, I eat my 6 eggs with sausage.
I don't
with
know.
I would imagine that eggs are very difficult to eat with
Yeah.
chopsticks.
What's a scramble?
Yeah.
So
Okay. You're scrambling everything together, not just scrambled eggs.
Do you want me to break the breakfast down for you?
I mean, yeah, you might as well.
All
at
right,
this
go
point.
so
ahead.
I heat
The
up.
macros going, everything.
I heat up, and Nick, you can take this.
What kind of pan?
I've told you this recipe probably now 3 times, and you still haven't.
Is this
done it.
don't
all
cook.
phases or
I
just
cook, he
bulk
doesn't
phase?
cook.
I'll eat a protein
All
bar.
phases.
I'm
All
good.
phases.
All phases of life.
Okay.
Yeah, starts with. I have no other breakfast. This is the
This
breakfast.
is it.
Okay.
So I do a hot, no stick pan,
Yep.
and I do a pot of water, and I'll do. So what I buy those either sometimes I have elk sausage and I'll do it with that. Other times I just do like Bob Evans sausages from
Mhm.
Aldi.
Yep.
We're an Aldi family.
Aldi's. Yep.
The size of that like log.
Mm-hmm.
I do half of it
Whoa.
in a no stick. Okay,
Is that like a half a
A
pound?
lot of food.
I don't know.
I think the whole stick's a half a pound. So
Whole
it would
stick's
be
a
it would be
pound.
a quarter
pound.
quarter pound.
Half a log,
Half a
quarter pound.
Your septic tank hates you, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
He's like, good thing I'm on public sewage.
Public. It's public. We pay
Yeah,
for it.
probably.
$75 a month. I'm pretty sure.
Surcharge.
I cut up 2 potatoes that I will have boiled. I've said this on a pod. You can go back and find us 3 or 4 times. I'll cut up 2 potatoes that
Russet potatoes.
golden potatoes,
Mm.
yellow, whatever they
Yeah,
call
yellow, goldens.
them. Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't
Probably
experimented
Idaho potato.
much with it. They cook nice. They boil easy. I
Do you
boil
not
them.
like the brown like russet potatoes?
No, too much skin.
Ooh, see that there's a lot of vitamins in that though.
Yeah, they don't boil as evenly. I think.
Okay,
I'm looking for like a clean.
clean boil.
Yeah, so half a log in the nose stick, 2 potatoes, chop them up, boil the water in the meantime.
Yep.
Brown the sausage, toss in my potatoes, a little bit of avocado oil over top, just
Very
enough
nice.
to
Yep.
just enough to get it all as one.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm stirring that, once my you guys
See that wrist action he had in that?
Oh, dude, I can toss a nose stick of half a log of potatoes. When my water's boiling, you ever poach eggs in water?
Dude, I don't cook.
Straight into water?
I know what you're talking about.
You know how to do it?
Yes.
For the first time the other day.
How'd it work out for you?
Good success.
Yeah, how'd you do it?
He's like salmonella, but I mean, yeah, pretty good.
I just boiled and then like
Crack it in. How long?
2 to 3 minutes.
Water off?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the move. I go 3.5, 4 minutes for 6, but it takes a while. So I crack 6 in there. I let them poach for 4 minutes. About the 2 minute mark, I take my stuff off. Here's another fun fact for you: 100% disposable paper plates.
Really?
Yeah, I don't use
no dishes.
No dishes.
Yeah,
Imagine how many dishes I would have to do.
That. I can support
that doesn't surprise me.
It's like $5 for a thing at Aldi like this. So
yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
just more trash. So I get my base of potato and sausage on the plate, and then once my eggs are done poaching, pull them out with a strainer spoon right on top. Immediately break them up so the yolk stops cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy salt, heavy pep, green Tabasco sauce.
Ooh.
Which are you buying or
Lost
stealing?
me there.
I buy it by the box.
You used to steal it from Chipotle.
It wasn't stealing. No, they give them.
Oh, that is stealing.
No.
They put them out for you.
No, you can't take that bottle.
Oh, man.
That is stealing.
The
Yeah, no, they're
bottle,
like
the
ketchup
bottle.
packets.
Yeah.
Every time Nick would follow you, and he's like, "God damn it, they're out again."
I decided early on that they put those out for us.
And I've told you
For
numerous
you.
times they do not.
you.
Yeah, for whoever.
For use in house.
Oh, well, it doesn't say that. So, and then I mix it all together and I eat it with chopsticks.
And then you watch the Sportsman's Channel. That's
So,
where you're
yeah,
going with
In
it.
your sauna.
The original, not in the saunas later.
Oh,
in the
yeah,
day.
saunas later.
Yeah, you guys are making me sound like a freak here.
You are.
I mean,
So, no, anyways, the point I was getting to was like, so on my Samsung TV, I have 3 hunting channels
Yep.
that really are fishing channels, if I'm being honest, which is, if we're going to get into it, one of my biggest pet peeves
yep.
on the list right now.
Yep.
Have a hunting show and have a
You've got
channel and have
Pursuit, Outdoor America, and Waypoint.
and Waypoint. Yeah, and dude, it's weird, man. It's like, because we come here and it's like, we think you are for sure, but like we're part of the, quote unquote industry. It's like, we all perceive it different ways. Whatever's going on those channels is like totally different. It's like there's like a whole separate thing happening. You know what I mean? It's like these shows that are like just totally obscure. And I should say like 60 to 70% of them are fishing shows.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but what's left is like, I don't know. There, every once in a while, you'll catch like, you'll see, bird songs.
Like Headhunters.
No, the new one.
Oh, Raven.
You'll see the Raven Project on there. That's nice.
Yep.
You'll see.
See a Drury on there?
I've never seen Drury
Midwest
on there.
Whitetail?
Maybe I've seen a Midwest Whitetail once or twice. But
Raised Hunting.
Maybe.
Yeah, they're on at least.
But other than that,
Outdoor
dude, it's
Chan-
like
or
these
Outdoor
obscure. I guess they were, big names, like kind of back in the day.
It
but
is very dominant. Well, and you also, I mean, at least right now, quarter 2, 3, you're very fishing oriented, at least from a
Yeah.
programming
Which
level.
Why do you think?
boils my blood, dude. When I sit down and I want to see somebody shoot a big whitetail buck, and I just see like,
Walleye.
oh, you're fishing this
Which is
pond or
fun.
walleye.
Which is fun.
It's great. Have your own channel.
Yeah.
No, I get you.
And
I
they
get
could
you.
say they should say the same thing about.
And
I'm
you know
sure
what?
somebody wants to sit down and they want to watch a walleye. If they want to watch somebody shoot a giant
Yeah,
buck.
you're right. You're right. That's why YouTube's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Click on what
Well,
you
and
want.
that's the world that we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like it's weird.
It is interesting because if you think about like the
That's what I
way
end up
that
doing on Chromecast.
the way that those things are programmed are to where the 4 of us are like completely all season anything outdoors. Like we would tarpon fish, we would turkey hunt, we would pheasant hunt, we would deer hunt. Like we're just like the all around all pursuit. In reality, everybody has one of those probably stronger than the others. Like go try to find a very strong like waterfowl guy who also is like super passionate about deer hunting. It doesn't exist because the seasons overlap. You can only embed so much of your time to one of those passions. Same with like upland bird hunting. Like those guys are they may be huge turkey hunters, but they're not going to be big deer hunters because it overlaps too much of it. So, when you get into those programming aspects, they program it to be like, oh, it's the all pursuit type content channel. And it's like, well, yeah, but I only care about like, dude, if somebody came out with like a pure whitetail channel, you would own the market, right? Because I mean, if you own whitetail on the hunting market or in the industry, you own the industry.
Seems, I mean, speaking of that, there is some Team 200 on there. I saw some of that the other day.
Is there? But yeah, just very mixed up. And I get it because you want to appeal to, frankly, there's more fishermen than there are hunters.
The result
right?
is just,
it's a bigger industry.
The result is like a watered down thing, just
inconsistent.
kind of like, it's just like, I have to like, I don't know.
Can't fast forward, can't click next.
Which is why everybody migrates to YouTube because I can just
100%.
watch whatever I want.
So that is what I do. Like I'll check those 3 channels first just because it's like, I don't know. It's a hassle to pull YouTube up, find something, and then Chromecast it to my TV, which is ultimately what I end up doing if there's three
you don't have
fish.
the YouTube app installed on your TV?
I do, but those Samsung TV remotes are freaking terrible.
Type. Yeah.
It's terrible. I used to have
We've got an LG, and it does really.
See, I have a Samsung as well, but most of the time, Jared and I are watching off of the HUNTR YouTube channel, so I'm just like, oh, Jared watched that, I'll watch that.
Yeah.
That's usually how it's programmed in, or whatever you watched, it gives me a recommended on the next one.
I watch some good stuff. Yeah, I dig it up. Yeah, but no, the remote. I used to have a Fire stick.
Yeah,
and that remote was clutch. I could just hold it up and say whatever I wanted.
I've got one on one of my TVs at the cabin, and it's a lot easier that way.
And I don't have.
It can't understand me half the time though.
Dude, mine's like speaks my language. It knows what I'm saying. It already knows what I want.
Yeah,
that's downstairs in my hunting room now.
Down in your hunting room.
That TV is.
Yeah.
Dude, I love amateur YouTube deer hunting videos.
Yeah,
Just like a dude with a shitty camera or his iPhone.
Well, there's some really good
I can
ones.
watch a ton of that.
There's even some high quality stuff of like I've never heard of the guy or whatever.
Dude, I'll watch it for an
Hours.
That's how I watch.
night.
That's how I found
every
the Leatherwood guys here in
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
they're awesome. Yeah, we just drove through their hometown.
Watched a ton of that stuff like for years, and it was like
Lauer's dad watches a lot of it.
The
He watches them
Leatherwood
Leatherwood boys.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's how I know how to
and
find morels. Their morel content is awesome.
Where are they from?
Clarion.
Clarion County, Red Bank, I believe.
Yep.
Should have them down
Because
here
they
at some
always go. They do like the big buck contest in Reimersburg and
Yeah.
stuff.
I know, right where we drive by.
Property
that
just sold
firewall
up there in
on the way home.
Riversburg.
Yep.
That riverfront property I showed the other day.
It did.
Yeah, they do some good stuff.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt Archery.
Dude, where would we be without our Hoyt bows?
Probably shooting crossbows.
or a Matthews. Yeah.
One and the same.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, we love being Hoyt guys because you stand out. When you're in this room full of other people that shoot these other types of bows, I feel like the Hoyt guys just stick out.
Dude, it's just a legit bow. I mean, especially that carbon riser, man. I mean, I know that they've got several other aluminum lines as well. But for me, I'm shooting that RX-5 in the carbon model. They've since come out with the RX-7. And I can't tell you how much I love being a Hoyt guy amongst a sea full of Matthews guys. So we're out there, I think, proving them wrong, shooting 80 pounds and, killing stuff.
Hey, man, if you want to get serious, get Hoyt. It was probably, I don't know if it may have been prior to 2018, but when I first saw some of your stuff, I have to admit, I did not think you were legitimate.
Oh,
and I probably said it to Jared too. Well, it's true.
That's all right.
But I say that because obviously then watching more of your content and now obviously getting
what do you
to know
mean,
you
legitimate
guys.
now? Like you thought she was just making a show?
Well, because no, just because
Like
at
pretending
that,
like
at
I
that
was doing
time
it?
there were
You could
just
smack him out.
There were
No, it's
she
okay.
can.
It's
there were
okay.
so many female like influencers and personalities coming onto the scene that you knew that some of them were like not as bad as now. I mean, frankly, now with like these TikTok girls and stuff, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But just because of the way you came in, frankly, a little naive to the whole situation, it was like, okay, like, is she just trying to, because other ones clearly were trying to manipulate the situation, which was
Sure.
TV was kind of dying. there were all these kind of guy influencers, but there really weren't any female influencers. So if they came into that space, it was like fairly wide open.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like for a while, like the standard for like a female influencer was so low because there were none of them. It was basically like tits and ass, and they're like, "Yep, we'll sponsor you."
And that was the thing that we were experiencing from a Stone Road side, like an industry side. It was like, oh, well, what about this person? And it's like, Jesus, like, do you guys not get like? And you feel weird like saying like literally it's tits and ass. Like that's why they have this much followers. Like, do you really want to spend?
Right.
Because if it ultimately doesn't work, it comes back on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
well, it's the opposite of what we stand for too. Like as hunter, like
yes.
we care a lot about hunting and how
Authentic.
it's perceived, right? And
Yeah.
to throw dollars at like the tits and ass type of a campaign, it just seems inauthentic and not like a legitimate approach to promoting the outdoors.
Yeah.
And I say that now because obviously getting to know you guys, but even still seeing I mean, shit, you're more legitimate than I am when you're cooking with like bear fat and stuff. I don't know what the hell I'm doing there.
I totally understand where that perception comes from though. And I feel like because I've been doing this now for like 10 years, I can look back and see like, we'll sometimes, I don't know, watch one of our old videos just for shits and gigs. And it's like, who was that young girl who knew nothing? But it was authentic
because it really
100%.
was trying to learn and understand that.
Yeah.
Side of
So
it.
I bought my first. So I had spent, I think, one season what I call observant hunting with Nick. So I didn't have a tag in my pocket. I would just go with him, hang out, watch what happens.
I'm sure Nick loved that.
It might have been 2. Oh,
Dude, I was ignorant too. I didn't know.
We
what the hell I
never
was
saw
doing.
deer. See, that's what I'm saying about us learning together. Okay.
Dude, it was a joke.
He's like, I know
I'm gonna
everything.
hear
Come
about
on.
So
God
I would just go with him and totally like wear too much perfume. Like I didn't know anything.
I have
but
a
I was
specific
just
memory of you.
Too much perfume is
unwrapping a
any
Pop-Tart,
perfume.
and it was like the loudest. I was like, go home.
Speaking of your YouTube videos, you ever seen that one of like taking your wife hunting and she's out there like with the deer antlers prancing around?
No, it wasn't that bad, but
so I was just like
Pop-Tart
having fun
in
with
the
him.
foil was a rookie move though.
big
Oh,
time.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But then I think it might have actually been 2 years because it was the second year that I was out with him. I watched him shoot a deer.
And is this in Pennsylvania
This
mostly?
is in Pennsylvania. He shot a doe with a crossbow and I watched her die. And then I watched him like
Did you cry?
drag her. I did. Not like sobbing, but I cried. It was a lot. And he dragged her out and then he started gutting her. And it was like, as soon as he started gutting her, I was like, oh, this is cool.
Was that your anatomy?
Yes.
back?
I was like, this isn't a living, breathing animal anymore. Like, this is what it is, which is food. It's like, this is part of the earth. This is not the like beautiful animal that I felt sorry watching die.
Yeah.
And so then like we would cook or he would cook or his friends would cook. And it was always like bad, but like good at the same time.
Yeah.
But it like took a while of eating it for it to be good. And
I
then
survived on deer meat in college. Like my entire my apartment would have not lived probably without
you
it.
feeding them deer.
Yeah, because all we had was like rice and noodles, and it was like
Ramen.
you cook some deer meat and just throw it in.
Yeah.
It was Budweiser and ground deer meat. That was it.
That's it.
And it was
good,
like
though.
that moment that I was like, oh, wait, we eat this. Look at like, this is so cool. And so that's when I knew the next season that I wanted to hunt myself. So I hunted with a crossbow, almost had a shot opportunity, but like it
and
did
you document any of this at this point?
No.
Or no.
I wasn't on
Probably-
social
there's
media.
Probably some Instagram, if I would guess.
Actually, I think this may have been like 2013.
This was probably like a personal page, not
Yes,
Yeah,
this was
I
my
gotcha.
personal page. In 2013, I do remember this. I posted a photo of, I think this was actually the doe. This was it. This was 2013. This was the doe that Nick shot. That I watched her die. I watched everything before I had ever hunted. And we had her up in the bed of the truck. We were both in the truck behind her. And I posted it to my Instagram. And the caption was, cute or creepy, I don't know.
Yeah.
'Cause
What'd your friends and family think? Because obviously you guys are both coming from a non-hunting background.
Yeah.
They were cool.
Yeah.
My friends had hunted. We did
In
outdoor
college and stuff, yeah.
we fished a ton.
Yeah.
We go camping, hiking,
Yeah.
whatever. We did a ton of stuff outside. I wasn't introduced to firearms or bows. So that
Right.
was my barrier.
Gotcha.
And once I got that in my hand, I was like, let's do it. This is
And
cool.
so was that
Yeah.
more of like a college influence?
It was my uncle.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a hunter.
Yep.
Has been forever.
Yep.
Not my dad.
Yep.
Not my dad's other brother. But yeah,
Yep.
so he got me into it once baseball was kind of over with.
Yep. Well, we talked about that with Trey last week. I mean, sports for a lot of us consume so much of, the hunting season or
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
that it was like,
Yeah.
it was difficult to like truly commit yourself to something else.
Yeah.
So you guys were 1 year right after each other then? Like you shot that doe the first year, and then you were the
I was
following?
So
probably
then-
a couple years
And then
ahead
2014, I hunted with his old crossbow,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't
And-
kill anything that season, but he did.
And was
So
that your
he-
uncle's crossbow before?
No,
Did
I
he kind of get
I
you?
bought it from a guy. It was like
Did he
400 bucks.
recommend? Like, how did you know to start with a crossbow?
Honestly, he was a recurve guy,
Uh-huh.
and I just crossbow is easier because I'd shot a deer with a rifle.
so
I was
on your
like,
own volition, you're like, that seems like I
Yeah.
can start with that.
Yeah, it was a scoped weapon,
Mhm.
just like the 30-06 that I was.
Was that
using.
not long after it was legal in Pennsylvania?
Probably not long after. That was probably 2012.
You
Yeah.
might have shot the deer with the rifle in 2012, and then crossbow in
2011,
13,
something like that.
something
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah, it was a Horton HD Hunter, something like that. It was heavy as hell,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah.
Oh my God,
could
I
shoot
took
40 yards with it. and-
I took it to Bucks and Bows,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't anybody from Bucks and Bows,
You guys
but
still
they're
go up there?
we're like
It's been a
hardly
while.
here
Yeah, It's been
ever.
a while.
But there was this guy there making fun of me for shooting a crossbow, and I remember him
It's very
being.
Jerry
I
Bob.
remember
Or
him
me.
being like. I remember him being like, "Oh, are you on The Walking Dead?" Because Daryl shoots a crossbow.
That's
I
a
remember
good
being
one.
like,
I'll have to
"Shut
use
up."
that.
Did you turn it towards him really quick?
What are you, The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
We didn't have anybody
Yeah. There was nobody there.
to give us a
Yeah.
Matthews or a Hoyt or even just to tell us, hey, buy this thing. And
Yeah.
that was
Well,
just my
from a-
intuition. Was
From
like,
a barrier to entry, it's easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a used $400 crossbow. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's at my buddy's house. It's still
Yeah.
fully functional.
Yeah.
Whoever needs it, take it.
Yep.
I shot like I was hunting with a crossbow and then a compound bow before I ever started hunting with firearms, which is kind of like a backwards approach, but it was just that I didn't have anybody to introduce
Sure.
me to them.
Yeah.
And it was actually my boss at First Light was the one who like taught me how to shoot a rifle. And he took me out, like a bunch of us went out and they gave me a 22 and I shot that first. And then I graduated. I can't remember what they had me shooting after that, but I actually ended up buying a 308 off of him because I shot a mule deer with it. And he was like, you know what? If you want it, I'll sell that to you. So I
Pretty
bought
cool.
it. Yeah.
Now looking back, it's kudos to you. It's just nobody would go out on a limb and just say, I'm going to be vulnerable here and just lay it out
I
there,
would.
Yeah.
right? We didn't see that in any content, right? If we're
No.
watching Midwest Whitetail and stuff, none of these guys are out there being vulnerable.
Yeah.
So if we look at what you did, the reason it probably came off to me, I'm like, oh, what's this person trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
Is because you were literally putting out there being vulnerable and knowing nothing. And then, but because what we're used to in the industry, it almost comes off as like, she didn't know what the hell you didn't know what the
Totally.
hell you were doing.
Yeah.
It was also, dude,
Yeah.
I think it was an uphill battle that you were getting lumped into these other girls that were
Oh,
like
sure.
catching that.
Huge.
That was probably
Yeah.
a huge thing that you had to overcome, and it was the legitimate passion and interest like for the sport that I think is what shined through.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's why you're still here. A lot of those, you don't see them
Not
anymore.
there anymore.
I can look back on things now. This wasn't until a few years ago. So it was probably like 4 or 5 years of being such a complete noob. I knew nothing that was going on until maybe like 3 or 4 years ago that I was, or probably like 3 years ago that I was like, okay, I'm really starting to get things here. And now, especially, I look back at things and I'm like, oh wow, I really didn't know what
Well, I
was
mean,
going
your
on.
cooking and stuff now intimidates the shit out of me, and I love to cook. I'm like, what the hell? She's
Speaking
got bear
of that,
grease
you
and
have
stuff.
big news.
I do have big news. I'm releasing a cookbook.
No, you're not.
I am.
Whoa.
I've been working on it.
What?
So it's a funny story.
Is this the first time you're saying
This is
it?
the first time I'm saying it.
On air,
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It's the first time I'm
Big
saying it.
news.
All 5 people listening to this will be like, they may be on it. I don't know.
I had been working on writing my own venison cookbook. I was
Okay.
like, I'm going to self-publish it.
Yeah.
So I had worked for about a year writing recipes, guinea pigging Nick and his dad especially. This was like when we were in Florida. So which is so funny because his dad is kind of a picky eater.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I would assume your dad's palate
Really?
per se would not be necessary
But-
because you guys
I
are
wouldn't
eating a
guess
lot of
that.
wild
But
game.
he eats all the venison. He'll eat
Yeah.
bear. It's like, it's funny.
He thinks it's cool. I don't know
Yeah.
if he really likes it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's
Well,
like, this is great. You should put this in the book.
I mean, no, not that it's not good food. I think he's just kind of like.
No, I know
"Eh,
what you mean.
I don't like
I know
that."
what you
Well,
mean.
I mean, the
Like that.
people who just, my mom's that way. She grew up like eating deer meat because they had to.
Yeah.
Now she's like, hey, it's so gamey. I'm like, are you kidding me? I could give her beef and she'd tell me the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the mentality
Yeah.
of it.
Totally. Yeah. And I can remember like
She kills it though. I mean, it's good.
when we first started,
It's a
like
good wife.
when we
Dude.
first started, I cook a lot. It's like every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was working on writing this venison cookbook. I was like a year into it. I was almost done to it. I was actually, or done with it. I was working with my sister to try and get her to help me with like the book
Like
layout.
Kindle-y type thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can self-publish on Amazon.
Huh.
Yeah. So that was my plan. And
keep
then,
those dreams up,
yeah,
baby.
Keep it noted.
Nick's working on a memoir.
So
I
you're going to
was-
push it,
yeah.
self-publish.
Yeah, and I was a year into it.
'Kay.
Pretty much had all my venison like recipes ready, and then a publisher contacted
You're
me
shitting me.
and was like, "Hey, do you want to write a book?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, let's get on the
They
phone."
didn't know anything about they just out of the blue.
Yes, out of the blue, they
Saw your
knew-
videos and stuff.
saw me from social media.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't know that I was working on this in the background, and got on the phone with them. I was like, I've already written a venison cookbook. Like, this is great. And
Let's
they-
talk price.
And they they were like, well, actually, we want to do something that's related to butchering. And I was like, oh.
Whoa.
I was like, all right. And then we started brainstorming and talking back and forth. So it's called the Butcher's Table, and it's comprised of poultry, pork, and venison. And there's a butchery section for each animal, basic how to break this down, how to get each cut, and then how to best use each cut to its fullest potential.
And you feel comfortable with that now?
Yes.
That's
Oh, yes.
crazy.
So I've been working on that now for the last like year and a half, and it's available for pre-order on Amazon. It'll be available just about everywhere you buy books come September.
Holy shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's done, submitted. It's just
Done, submitted. Yeah.
in the
Whoa.
public.
All signed off. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
That's
you.
crazy.
It's been wild. There have been many days of me just in a dark.
How many
in a
recipes?
dark. A lot. Probably 45.
So it's going to have all of those breakdowns in it.
Yes.
And then paired with each of those types of meat would be recipes related to.
Yeah.
And there, you said, what are the three categories? Venison,
Venison,
Poultry.
pork, and poultry.
pork, and poultry.
It really chicken. It's not all. It's chicken,
Yeah.
pork, and
The hard
venison.
copies are going to be September.
Correct.
So are you doing that with a chicken or with like primarily wild game?
No, so this was a conversation with the publisher.
Yeah, because it's an interesting twist on kind of
Yes.
where you've been, vertically in the wild game section,
Absolutely.
Well, and so you say it's
Yeah.
venison, not like,
It's venison.
so no beef.
Oh yeah,
No beef.
This is deer from
Yeah.
Deer, elk.
Pennsylvania, Florida,
Yeah.
Florida
Yes.
as well. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like the breakdown is for a white-tailed deer
Mhm.
and or mule deer and
Yep.
or,
Most common.
Yeah.
by
Yeah,
far.
absolutely.
Same cuts essentially.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the recipes could be prepared with
Elk or moose,
yeah,
whatever,
Plug
yeah.
and plug and chug.
Are they all the same? Like
Yes.
anatomically?
Yes. Obviously, the scale's
The
a
scales,
lot different.
yeah.
A lot different.
But all the cuts are called the same thing? And
Yeah.
For the most part, there's a European way to do it and a
Mm.
American way to do it. The way that they
Yeah, we don't
Label.
There's-
follow those
yeah.
Europeans though.
well, we've gotten into it. So
So is it like, do you think as we kind of, as a society, keep leaning towards this sustainability, self-sufficientness
Yes.
type, that's where this is all kind of coming
And
into play?
anecdotally, just with the
That's a
amount
huge
of
word.
we've been
I got a better one for you. Anatomically.
We've been practicing.
Yeah,
as
that's good. We don't do
as
that
a-
on here.
Anecdotally.
as I've been sharing more and more cooking content and butchery
Yeah.
content, especially on YouTube, like I can see the value in it.
Yeah.
And I can see people being like, I just used this to break down my turkey. Like, thank you so
That's
much.
cool.
And that, like, I feel like, it feels good to be able to
You're right. There is
move into that zone a little bit more.
definitely a trend. And like I catch on to a little bit of like, I don't, as many deer as I've butchered. I mean, dude, I butchered over 100 deer probably.
And when you say butcher, you mean like you butchered them.
Hacked it up.
No, I do a nice job with them, but I don't know what those cuts are called.
Yeah.
I have like
I just know what I'm cutting out.
steak,
Like,
Berger,
Yeah.
back straps, tenderloins are
Yep.
the 4 cuts that I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like I'm probably missing a whole lot. And to be honest with you, like, and I don't know
Yeah,
if
like rib meat
I don't
and
know,
stuff like
I
that.
shouldn't say I'm ashamed to say because it just is what it is. But like I don't eat a lot of wild game. Like I have a lot of it, and I end up like kind of giving it away. Or I think it comes down to like prep time.
What's your
'Cause-
favorite?
What's my favorite way?
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the cut. Each cut's different.
Okay. So what's
So-
your favorite backstrap?
Like
Does it really? Like, can you
It
notice?
does,
immensely.
yeah, it
What, so
does.
like let's talk about a rear quarter,
hind quarter.
hind quarter.
Yeah.
So you got
I don't even know-
steaks,
I don't even know
steaks
what
and
to-
roast.
I don't even know what to call them. Like I know where they are. I know where to break them apart.
Yeah.
But like,
So we've got roughly 7 different muscle groups that
Yeah.
we're looking at with the hind quarter.
Nick,
So we've got the
Pull it
top
up.
round,
hind quarter.
the top
Anatomy.
round,
So
So-
that is a full hind quarter cut.
full hind quarter breakdown.
Okay.
Yep. So on the far left, you've got the femur. And if
Yep.
you like to make stocks, it's great to keep the bones.
What do you
if not,
use
you don't
stock
have
for?
to.
Just soups?
You can a lot of things.
I don't
yeah.
know, dude.
This
You're
is-
boiling femur bones.
I mean, not
It
humans.
does add flavor. It does.
It does,
It turns
yeah.
into like a jelly, and it's kind of nasty looking.
So what do you
but
make
it does
It's
add
the
with it?
collagen.
Yeah.
So you use it like any time that a recipe would call for stock.
Yeah, I don't make any recipes with stock. Unless it's like
Okay.
in the cardboard
Your-
jug.
Yeah,
your
so that's what I'm
roasts, your
saying.
crock
You
pots.
would-
Yeah, my
Yeah.
crock pot roast. Like,
There's your
yeah,
stock.
beef stock.
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen,
you
I
would-
bought
you could use
gravy in a
venison
can the
stock.
other day, and I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed
So
to
that's
say.
what you'd use the femurs for.
Okay.
And if you don't, toss them. No big deal.
And so you literally will boil those down.
No, so the way that I like to make it is to first roast them in the oven. So you want to get the oven nice and hot. You put all the bones on a tray, put them in the oven, roast them
Mm-hmm.
until they get like a golden brown. You'll start to smell it. Then you put it in a pot. You add a bunch of water,
How hot and how long?
probably 425
Okay.
for 15 minutes.
All right.
Oh, okay.
But you want to use your senses. Like the spidey senses are really important with
Mine
cooking.
have yet to be developed.
Yeah, his are pretty dull.
Mine are 4 minutes on either side.
So 425, 15 minutes,
Uh-huh.
and then check it. If they're not golden yet, keep them in.
All right.
And this isn't like to get into like the marrow aspect of things.
No.
Right? Okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, the marrow, it like the collagen that's within the bone
Yes.
is released during this process.
Collagen's for your hair, right?
I
I think so.
Fingernails.
I don't
So
know.
collagen hail?
but
Pills?
collagen, yeah, collagen is like the
See Jared
The
laid up because of his
molecule of
hairline.
youth.
He's like, wait a minute.
I took it for like didn't do anything.
yeah. So
I'm here to say collagen and mushrooms don't do anything.
What kind of mushroom?
Yeah,
kind of
it
Lion's
depends on what
lion's
kind of
mane.
mushroom.
Lion's
Yeah,
mane.
yeah. Some mushrooms.
that's
do
funny.
things.
You need a.
I've got a lion's mane
finasteride.
tincture that just got delivered to the house.
By who?
Fungi Perfect.
I took-
Paul's,
It's
Paul-
a tincture.
It's a tincture, which means that the mushroom is soaked in alcohol
Yep.
for like 4 weeks.
Yep.
And then it's literally mushroom alcohol. And I take it every day, and I think it's
That's
kind
what
of
my
funny.
CBD melatonin
You think what?
is.
Ooh.
Say it
That-
again. You think
that's
what?
good stuff.
CBD works.
Melatonin too, in the same thing. That's the stuff.
The mushroom tincture that I take is alcohol. It's literally mushroom alcohol.
Mhm.
The molecules within the lion's mane
Mm-hmm.
cannot be extracted unless it's
Do you feel
soaked
anything,
in
though?
alcohol.
Do you feel like
I'm almost all the way through my first bottle,
She just wrote a
and I
fucking
feel
book.
nothing.
So
No. This is about the mushroom, and so no, I'm nothing
I don't
like
feel anything
notable.
either.
No, but
you don't
I
feel sharper. Isn't that
I
what you're
also
supposed
take
to do?
I take other
it's supposed to.
things, and it's kind of the same vibe. It's like I haven't found
I feel
anything.
nothing?
that-
I'm like I should just
I
drink
feel
water.
nothing.
Sure, drink more water.
Definitely
Yeah.
hydrate.
Yeah, probably.
What
but
did you
actually,
do? You went
coconut
mud
water.
right?
What about coconut water?
You just talked about hydrate or like just drink water, and so I said coconut water. That's like a way to like one up it.
One up
from
the
just like
hydration.
yeah, that's a way to like
Really?
update. Yeah.
Just
I
get
don't
on
know.
the juice already, man. You're
No.
I know you want to.
No. There is a guy at the gym he's always agging me on.
I'm pretty interested.
There's 2 big shows in Pittsburgh this weekend.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised people
Pittsburgh,
don't
yeah.
accuse you of being.
He just
No,
won
they
the one in
do.
On the
Butler.
juice.
They do.
His name is
He's just all natural brute.
John Wallace. Name's John Wallace. He won not like the Open Pro or anything,
Yeah.
but like whatever division he's in.
That's cool.
4-year-old guy. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
jacked.
We like watching bodybuilding stuff.
Yeah,
It's cool.
do.
it's fun.
All right, break us
Okay.
down again.
But coconut water.
Coconut water.
Can you just buy that?
Yes.
And
The
it's better
one
than-
it's not regulated.
the one that I like is called Harmless Harvest. It has like a pink tint to it, which is a natural. It's like natural as the coconut water
I
is
could get
exposed
into
to oxygen.
this. I drank Fiji for a while. That stuff was legit.
Yeah, coconut water on its
expensive.
own,
I
it'll
know.
taste a little. It'll taste a little not like
Bland.
It's just off.
Yeah.
yeah. So I like cut it with water and like add kombucha to it, or you can add a little like you
Kombucha.
can add a little like cranberry juice or pomegranate juice
Dude,
or
she's
whatever
a
you
straight
like.
up hippie about
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
kombucha too.
Mhm.
I don't drink it as much anymore.
I
But
opened the
No.
fridge and there's like 15 bottles of just shit. I'm like, what?
Oh,
Yeah.
aloe vera juice.
It's just everywhere.
Yep.
It's all that Florida
All of it.
stuff.
some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff.
I
works.
grabbed her drink the other day. I thought it was. We got these little mason jars.
Like, oh, that's a
they're brown.
spitter.
Mhm.
I took a sip of something right off
Yeah.
the back porch. No,
I was like,
thank you.
don't. I was like, that's no water.
No thanks.
I was like, it's a
I don't know
blend
what
of
you're
my
drinking.
my
Go ahead. I
Yeah.
don't want it.
I peed in
How
that
much-
actually.
It tasted like it.
You spend a lot of time preparing stuff, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. And like now that we have a home, I really, really want to garden. And I want so I like being outside. I want to be in the yard. I want to garden. I want to go
I was
fish.
gonna say, I mean, I
wanna
feel like
hunt.
with all your
I wanna,
recipes,
like-
you'd want like to be able to harvest, like, oh, let me go out and pick some jalapenos or whatever.
Yes,
like,
actually,
I think that's what kind of keeps me and probably a lot of people from doing it. It's like I need something. I need it to be convenient,
Mm.
but I do love. I know the feeling, right? I know like what it's like to kill a deer and to
Oh yeah.
I get the connection part of it.
Yeah.
My parents have a garden, and they, when we eat the corn and stuff from there, I'm like, this is awesome. I'd love to do
What's
this,
the
but
one
like,
by your
am I
hand?
willing to take
Is
the
that a
time to
shank?
do it? Like,
Okay. Yes.
Shank?
Very good. Yes, that's the shank.
yeah.
It's also known as ossobuco.
So
So
that is ossobuco.
Yes. So that shank has the
On the
bone
bone.
in it.
Ah.
Yes. And then you'll slow cook those in a crock pot, for
Yep.
example, or you can braise them, which means a small amount of liquid for a long time. So the
that
shank
cut
requires
is very intimidating to me.
it requires
usually goes in my ground
very
pile.
long- Yeah, which is a lot of I've
Yeah.
ground plenty of shanks before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
usually
tattoos.
goes in the ground pile.
Yes. So to the
should've.
right of the shank is the eye of round.
That
So that's
makes
the one I
sense.
was talking about. That's like a mock tenderloin.
Yep.
To the right of that is the top round.
Yep.
Then to the right of that one. So now we're all the way to the right.
By
That's
the
the
knife.
bottom
Burger.
round.
And that's your jerky cut.
Jerky, yes.
Yep.
So then if we go up to the top row, if we're going just to the right of the femur bone, that is the sirloin tip. That
Football.
yes.
Which that's the one that like immediately when I think, oh, this is my crock pot roast,
yes.
it's that one.
Yes.
it
That's-
just looks like a roast.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It
It really is, in my opinion, the best roast.
It was the first thing that I could cut out of a hind quarter that I was like, holy shit, I think I
Yes.
made the right cut here.
Yes.
You know,
Got the
just
whole
because
thing.
you can see the lines kind of on the hind quarter.
Wait,
where
you just
know
went
where to
across
cut.
the bottom row?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was with you about
I was like, wait a
till
minute.
just now. All right.
It's like, that
Okay.
doesn't look like a bone.
Okay, so then to the right of the sirloin tip
Yep.
is the sirloin butt.
Hmm.
And this is an awkward one. And for the longest time, it would always end up in my grind pile.
Where is that located? Like if you're cutting.
It's all the way up on the very top of the hind quarter. It actually wraps around the back, like around
Yeah.
the spine. So
Huh.
really, it's kind of like an extension of the back strap
So I was
into the
gonna
hind
say-
quarter right at the top. So it is tender.
They end up on Jeremy's backstrap.
They do.
But, dude,
That's what I was
perfect.
gonna say. Oh, it's the backstrap.
Yeah.
Is that
So-
the H bone cut?
Yes, it's right around that
Yeah.
top portion there.
Mine, I always take my knife and then it's just one big backstrap.
Yeah, so it is still tender. And so I recommend cooking that particular cut hot, fast cooking methods. Like you,
Huh.
but the awkward thing is because deer are so much smaller than like a cow or
Yeah.
there, it's just like you can't cut a steak out of it. So I'll cut little strips and stir fry it.
I was gonna say stir fry, maybe like a fajita type
Yes,
of thing.
or like
Yep.
Philly cheesesteak.
Okay.
You know, anything like that.
Huh?
You could get into with that, or you can just grind it because it's small too. And then to the right of that is the tri-tip, and that is always grind for me. That sits typically right on top of the football cut that we were talking about, the sirloin
yeah,
tip.
yeah.
So
I
sometimes,
can imagine that being like
Uh-huh.
encased in its own.
yeah, and so sometimes you can throw it right in the roast with the sirloin tip,
Mhm.
or if you cut it off, it goes to grind. And then in the top right, that's just excess grind.
Grind.
Yep.
I've got a great idea for your book. I'm sure it's already published.
Version 2.
I could add
for
it
the
in.
next version. You should do like a, you know how in the magazines they used to fold up and they'd have a poster in it. You ever see
Yeah.
like a Racer X
Yeah.
magazine?
Yeah.
You should fold up like a diagram of this, like labeled that people can put out in their garage.
I assume your breakdown is labeled, right?
I'd like
So
that.
I can look up at it and be like, "What's this?" Oh.
Yeah.
So I can label it.
That'd be
That's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah, and here's how to cook
Would
it
have
quick.
added to that.
Do you bag these and label them per cut?
Yes.
Wow. See, like mine just says roast.
Yeah.
Roast, backtrack.
Yeah, but
Listen, the only one I would have said was a roast was upper
The
left.
sirloin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Upper
The
left.
sirloin
That's
tip.
what I call roast.
Yeah. And really, like with the hindquarter, technically speaking, you could grind this whole thing and it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lot of good
It's
grind
just
meat.
like if you like to do extra things, like if you like to make jerky, it's worth keeping the bottom round separate.
Yeah,
If
that's-
you like to make stir fry, keep the top round. If you like to braise the meat and serve it over mashed potatoes with gravy, keep the shank attached to the bone. But like if you grind it all, it's going to be fantastic.
I think
anyway.
that to your point of like, oh, people don't cook. It's because each of these cuts is catered to, like quick high heat or long and slow. And what happens is when you just kind of, cut it up and like, oh, I'm just going to make steaks out of this. Like what you're cutting is probably not meant to be, hot and fast.
And then you don't enjoy it.
Correct.
And you don't want to do it again.
Right.
Correct.
Well, and that's based off of like toughness, right?
Yes.
Muscle group.
The
Yes,
tougher it is, the long. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
The longer you want it to cook.
There's a saying called high on the hog, which holds true for any animal. So if the meat is high on the animal, it's typically going to be more tender.
Like backstrap.
Yeah. So backstrap and tenderloins, creme de la creme. Those are the most tender cuts that you can get from the animal. And then the further down you go, like by the time you get down to the shanks, terribly
Super tough.
Yeah, like there's nothing that you can do with that meat except grind it or cook it very slow for a long period of time.
Do you find that like the shank, like let's say the ossobuco,
Buko.
Buko?
I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
how
it.
to say
That sounds right.
Yeah.
When you have
Dragon
the
Ball Z character.
bone attached, do you think that gives more of a gamey taste to it?
No, I think the bone adds a lot of flavor in a positive way.
Really?
And it adds a lot of, like we were saying with collagen,
Mm-hmm.
it adds that like thickness, that fat, that richness that's really
Which
good.
venison typically doesn't have.
Yes.
Because of being so lean.
It's so lean. So actually,
Elk
when
is even worse in that regard.
Leaner.
when I grind venison, I always add pork fat.
Do you?
Always.
Yeah.
Period. And it's fantastic like that. Like
Mhm.
it's so worth it to add in fat. And I used to be of the mindset of like, if I'm going to eat wild game, like
It should be super
it should
lean.
be pure.
Yeah.
Like why would I add in
Mm-hmm.
pork to this like beautiful animal that I just killed? But the more that I've been cooking,
It just makes, yeah.
oh my God, it makes it so much better.
Mhm.
And so now I 100% recommend it, and I wouldn't do it any other way. Yeah.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Stealth Cam.
Dude, where would we be without our cell cams?
I would definitely be divorced at this point.
Yeah, I hear that.
I mean, the fact is I spent more time checking cameras than I actually did hunting prior to cell cameras. Now at least my wife can enjoy me being in the comfort of my own home, buried in my phone checking those pictures.
Yeah, 100%. And dude, when it comes to trail cameras and definitely cell cameras, reliability is, I think, the number one thing that we're looking for. Stealth Cam just has a long reputation of reliable cameras, and ultimately that is the most important thing to us. They have to work.
In terms of reliability, there's not a better camera on the market than Stealth Cam, whether you're talking about the Fusion X, the Reactor, or the DS4K Transmit. And most of them are under $200.
Stealthcam.com. Check them out.
What
Yeah.
about on the hunting frontier? What do you guys got going on this year? You going out west? You
Oh,
staying
this is
here?
sensitive
It's
subject.
very much coming together at the moment.
So
Same with us.
we
I want
didn't.
the latest.
We did not draw in North Dakota for the first year.
Yikes.
We turned it down last year because of the drought, which was the right
kind
decision.
of heartbroken over the fact that we're not going to North Dakota.
We had a beat
2
on
years
some
in a
too.
row.
We thought, yeah, it's just that's our like adventure trip. Like we drive the whole way out there. We pick up a fifth wheel.
It's a dream.
We're in the middle of freaking nowhere for
Oh.
7 days, and it's just us.
Well, so plan B, I don't know for September. Jeremy's got a farm in Kentucky.
Yeah, so I bought 2 farms in Kentucky.
Sweet.
So
Also
Bought
some
two?
velvets.
What?
I
Yeah,
see
Velvet,
in your
Kentucky.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got one is a smaller place that I've had, but I bought a bigger farm that I'm working on right now, and so I don't know what I'm gonna get into out there, but it's like at least I'll have a chance at Velvet.
Options.
Yeah, so that's kind of my first piece. We started looking at landowner tags in some areas for mule deer and stuff, and just they don't seem right or they seem too
I
expensive.
don't know if it's for us, man. There's like a whole there's like this dark world of the industry where they sell tags.
It's a broker. It's a tag broker.
So there's certain states that have landowner tags, and they sell them through brokers. Like we talked on with a guest a couple weeks ago. Some guys sell them on eBay or whatever, but I mean there's brokers
and they're
that go
marked
around
up
and
substantially.
pick those things up. Yeah, I mean the cheapest mule deer landowner tag you're looking at is like $6,500 for the tag, just for the tag.
Yeah, and I mean you get access to the land to hunt.
Yep.
But it's not.
So it's like a DIY.
It's
hunt,
a DIY on a specific property usually or unit.
They have whitetail hunts too. They're all like guided, and like it just didn't seem
It's not
like
our style.
Yeah, I mean, I fleshed it out. I talked to the broker, and I was like, just none of these really seem like quite the right fit for us. So we're waiting to find out if we're gonna get drawn in Kansas at the moment.
That should be this month soon.
And that would yield a September option.
If we don't get drawn for Kansas, this year's gonna be a straight nut kick. For us.
Do you guys have any points in Wyoming?
Yep.
We do.
Okay.
We're thinking.
Well,
about it.
maybe your
How many
plan
you need?
C can be maybe your plan C can be in Wyoming with us. This is actually also kind of a
the
conundrum.
winter kill.
Let me say this first. I'm in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I proposed Wyoming. I'm pretty sure. Why did I?
I didn't think we had enough points.
Wyoming does a fun thing
We have-
where
we
if
have
you apply as
three.
a party, they
They take the highest
They
point.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Highest.
every state is usually the lowest.
They take the lowest.
Not the highest. They
All
I
of them?
believe
Average.
they median,
Average.
mean or median, whatever. I don't remember which one's which, but
What
they
about
take
modes?
the average of. So if I have one,
What about
you
the
have
mode?
one, and you guys have 0, we put in with a half.
A half a point.
Yes.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Wait, when
And
do
we
you
have,
find
like,
out about
4
Kansas?
I think we have 4 or 5. So like we're.
In May.
we're
I
sitting pretty
think
good.
we have 2 or 3
Yeah, 2 or 3.
So we'd probably put in with like 3 as a group.
for what muleys.
And
We
were
could
thinking
do
antelope,
muleys.
but we
We
also
were-
have mule deer.
Let me
points
also
as
say
well.
this as a secondary. I'm not driving to Wyoming for an antelope.
What? Dude, they're so much
so
fun.
cool.
They're
We-
so
we
much
could go-
fun.
I have
We-
killed one goat in my life, and that was
we
plenty.
have
Oh, they're
places
so
we have
cool.
places in South Dakota. If we want to go kill antelope, we can go kill antelope.
Okay, well, we can do mule deer too.
We could do
Yeah,
mule
mule
We've got
deer
lots of
spot-
mule deer
Muleys,
tags.
I would be
Spot
in
and
for.
stock muleys. We
Have you guys
are
ever
in.
been on mule deer hunt?
Oh, yeah.
Rifle mostly. I did kill one. with
Archery?
a
Oh,
bow.
dude.
We've been on archery and we've got
It's hard.
wild
It's
on
hard.
archery.
It's hard.
Spot,
In Utah.
spot.
Got wild? And you went to Utah?
Yeah,
Utah,
they're just
yeah.
with our buddy, same buddy that we were talking about. Dad
Zach,
killed it.
he owns Alaska Guide Creations.
Oh
He's
yeah.
really
Oh,
cool.
no
dude.
way. Dude, that's,
really
I
cool.
rock those. I have a
Yeah.
pair in my
Alaska
Yeah.
Guide Creations. Are
Yeah.
Well,
the
that's
shit.
who Vortex white label, didn't it?
Ooh.
I believe so. I believe so.
I don't
I think they
know,
did.
but I love
I'm pretty
that.
sure they did.
Yeah, I think
They're
so.
awesome.
He's a great dude.
That's not like a diss.
And
No, I mean that's a good. Wait, white
He's
label.
on 'em.
White
He
labeled
knows.
as in like they used
They
their.
used
they just
their
put the Vortex symbol
Vortex
on it.
logo on
That's
that.
a great thing for them.
You're
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
while ago, I think, but
High
Yeah.
quality.
they're killing it. They're coming out with all kinds of cool new stuff.
Nice.
Spot and stock muleys is, I mean, that's a different kind of high for Jared and I.
It's fun.
I'll be bummed. Well,
If we don't draw
I'm
this
kinda-
year, you guys should put in for North Dakota with us next year. In the Badlands for a week.
I'm in.
Done.
Oh, dude, it is
Yeah.
so
I'm in.
fun. And we've
Dude.
got a bead. Like us.
dude. We've got some connections
have-
too. Some friends.
So we need to build some points in North Dakota. So
Also,
I mean, Jared and I drew 3 years in a row with 0 points.
and then on the year we
then
wanted to
got
get done,
fucked.
we they screwed up.
But I
because
mean,
you talked about it too much.
I know.
Pretty
That's
much.
exactly it. Damn it.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
We keep blaming
Cut
other
that
people, and
out,
it's just
Nick.
us. And Nick, what the hell? But yeah, I mean, that would be fun. So we do have that one. We are entertaining some other ones. Kansas.
Looking at some
potentially.
leases in Missouri.
Missouri. Because Missouri opens September 15th.
Early
Yeah.
rifle too, right?
Early rifle, rut rifle. Yep.
Rut rifle.
Yep.
I have mixed
Second
feelings about
weekend. Second weekend in November.
Sick. In
Yeah.
Missouri.
Yep.
They
with
rut in
Kentucky.
Missouri in November.
Oh yeah.
In Florida, the deer rut, I swear, different times,
Oh,
Yeah.
different parts
zone.
of the
It could
state.
be July.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That's crazy,
like
right?
January in the deer in South Florida.
See,
are
I
rutting.
don't like
It's
that.
So
There's other
weird.
places it's in
I
September.
agree. I don't
It's
like
fun.
that either.
I think
It's
I
like,
just like, dude, rut in November, like
it's
everybody
like,
else.
It's
well,
like-
I think they rut in like
Like,
August.
who do you think
Yeah,
you
like
are?
in the Keys, it's like July and August.
Key deer are cool. You can't shoot a key deer, but key deer are really,
Just let them
really
like
cool.
be on their vacation though. Like that's what I'm saying.
Just let them be on the vacation, dude.
I don't know.
What about the Monday opener stuff. Have you seen?
Oh, we should
lots of
talk about
debate.
this.
Lots of debate. I
It's
mean,
hot.
here's the thing. We
I wanna
had this
know.
big
It's
discussion
the
the other day.
dumbest thing to argue over.
We
in
had
the
this
world.
huge
I
discussion
agree.
the other day of like
Monday.
they
Give me a break.
will have a meeting
We're
that
talking
says,
Pennsylvania
hey,
is what we're talking
yeah,
about. Right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
we'll have a meeting to discuss this, right? The decision's been made already.
Yep.
Why? Who cares though? Is my thing.
A lot of people care.
A lot.
I know
About
who
what?
cares.
Why?
I know who cares.
A lot of people up north care, I think.
Yeah, I think
our
it's-
camp country people. They care
suffered.
a lot. They care a lot.
I think it's people who have been doing this for years and years and years.
Generations.
Yeah, we're talking like decades on decades.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a very specific tradition that happens that they value maybe more than anything else.
Which
like
we've participated in and we love too.
Yeah.
yes, it's a very like communal thing to come together for the opener of deer season and have the
Schools are off.
traditions. Yeah, have the traditions that lead
So,
into that Monday.
I mean, if that's the thing, in the same sense, I'm saying who cares? Not like it's not a big deal. Why don't they just like do it the way people want to do it up there?
it's
Just
I
like
mean,
for
Can't.
those counties or whatever. Fine. What day do you want to
Because
do it?
it's a state. This
It's
is
a
where it
state
comes down to
thing.
Why does it
landscape
have to
level.
be? Who cares?
Because it's legislative.
I think it's
So
incredibly.
legislate that Northwest.
They won't do it.
Well, imagine if they opened 2B in the other southern counties on a Saturday.
Sure.
How packed that thing would be, and then they opened that on a Monday.
They did it with trout
it'd be
season,
out
though.
of- They did.
For a while.
Is it successful?
No, they went back to statewide.
I feel like
'Cause it- because
has
it
to
didn't
be
make sense.
statewide.
You can't do that. It doesn't make sense. It would be crazy.
I just think these guys and gals are butthurt that their traditions are being messed with.
I get it a little bit because I said earlier, my wife's family's from Kentucky. Usually Thanksgiving is their holiday. So we leave and we go to Kentucky for Thanksgiving. We're there Friday. Usually I come back Saturday in preparation for Monday opener. Now I'm coming back on the opener. I can hunt Sunday, which is a benefit. And now I'm frankly going to Ohio on Monday to hunt the opener with the kids. And it's not really for me as much as it is for the kids, but it, you know, for the first year, like we did kind of our own traditional hunt camp on Friday night and a Saturday, but it felt so weird because I'm used to like Thursday in my family was everybody's just psyched to go to deer camp, right? Friday morning, we all get up early. We all go to deer camp. We small game hunt Friday and Saturday. We watch football and do nothing on Sunday. And then Monday we kill deer. And then some people leave, some people stay till Tuesday, and then everybody goes home.
That's a magical weekend. That is like
I mean, that's what I look forward to all year growing up.
Yeah.
You know, and now I'm not saying that I don't like the fact it goes back to Jared and I keep talking about they're trying so damn hard to create opportunity to the point where it's like you saw it you're the one who sent it to me from Arkansas where they're literally talking about night hunting deer in the state of Arkansas right now.
What?
Yeah.
Opportunistic.
Well, listen.
what's the population like in Arkansas? I have no idea.
I mean,
don't know.
it's high, but it's not that much. It wouldn't be any different than here or Ohio or Kentucky or
Wow.
anywhere
Dude,
else.
Mark, go back, catalog some of these older podcasts where I talk about like we almost make a joke of it, like this extreme, and we're talking about
super extreme
more-
side of things, but
and more relevant things today is like baiting and crossbows. These things are like that are up for discussion, and things that like aren't even on the table, like hunting deer at night, with a spotlight type of like clearly that's illegal and should be.
the legislative's considering it, like a legitimately considering a season of night hunting deer. What the hell?
Fact check us, but
I mean, we saw it,
yeah, I mean I saw an article, I shared it with you.
but I mean,
I did see the article. I disregarded
it doesn't make any. And I mean,
Surprise, my
I'm
mate.
I'm sure it won't happen, right? But I think Ryan Fuhrer was the one who was saying it. At some point, when do they say, "Hey, season opens here, it closes here. You can use any weapon you want. Here's how many deer you can kill," and they just let you have at it.
No.
Not a fan.
No, I'm not a
I
fan
mean,
of
that's
that.
South Carolina, right? South
Really?
Carolina, August 15th starts gun season. It goes till whenever. You just have at it. You can use gun, you can use bow, you can run dogs, you can do whatever you want. Just
It's like
have at
I
it.
I had
want
no clue.
everything to exist personally. I love that there's a rifle season, that there's an archery season,
It's
that there's
structured.
a muzzleloader season.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can switch my mind. I do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So for me,
Well, take it
it's
all,
like
all the way. If somebody wants to shoot deer with the spotlight at night, I would love for them to be able to do that and it not affect our resource. I don't care what other
It's
people
impossible,
do.
though.
It's the fact that it's a mutual, it's a shared resources that we have to be invested and have opinions about what should be legal and what's
It's the
not.
same people Jared and I had this long conversation about like hunter safety and stuff, and people are like, more government regulation. I don't need a license to do this. And it's like, if you have no boundaries, right, this resource is gone.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like the boundaries have to exist in order for us to all continue to enjoy them every year and next generations enjoy them. Yeah. You can't just have a free for all.
It has nothing to do with like,
big government.
Big government. It doesn't. It has to do with conserving a resource.
Yeah.
And whether it's a government body that's doing it or because clearly we as hunters like can't get along. Right?
Well, yeah, I was actually just going to bring up
it.
in terms of conserving the resource, hunters themselves all disagree on how to conserve that resource and whether it is something that like needs to be focused. Like some states really focus on like creating a good experience for large antler deer, for example, or large antler elk.
Yeah, Iowa.
A trophy
Kansas,
elk.
yeah.
Exactly.
Utah. Mm-hmm.
Versus other states that may have no antler restrictions at all.
Opportunity.
Right. And so it's like nice in a sense.
It's not just antler restrictions, right? Because like Iowa doesn't have antler restrictions, but it's one of those states that has the highest trophy potential. So it's other regulations.
What other regulations do you think play into Iowa having
non-residents?
Number of tags.
Yeah, number of tags.
Number of tags being
ban
the
and
biggest.
non-residents. I mean, Jared and I will draw in 2024, and that'll be 5-6 points.
5 or 6 points. The next most or second most.
So I mean, every 5 to 6 years we can bow hunt there.
The other one is baiting.
Yeah, baiting's huge.
Yeah. The third would be weapon choice and length of season. I think the list goes on.
I think when you start to look at the way things are kind of laid out there from an opportunity end spectrum, and it's no different than the like, should it be Saturday? Should it be Monday opener? Should it be this? Should crossbows be allowed all year? Should it be? And it comes back to I think your season kind of structure of things. I think that what surprised me about all that is there is, I don't know. I would say it's either 30 to 40% more hunters out there in the woods than we know about because of and it sounds stupid because it's one thing. The response that we saw from that video on hunter safety, that number of people that told me that they don't need a fucking license was astronomical. Surprisingly astronomical.
Kudos for them being honest.
Yeah, I mean, and I get the fact, like, I've screwed up and
it
forgot.
Wasn't a kudos. It was like bragging online about I killed 3 people.
How dumb are you?
Well, but I mean, and I get the like extrapolation that has to happen when we're looking at like harvest reports because people don't turn them in and stuff. Dude, the number of people that are hunting that
Straight
are not
up
licensed. When Jared and I are sitting out here saying, listen, there's some areas that probably have too many hunters right now.
And the
plus
data can't show that
more.
because people aren't documented.
Well, dude, look at the number of game commission. Like how many game wardens are in the state of Pennsylvania?
I mean, basically 1 to 2 per county.
Yeah, so like
Less than
20 of them?
110.
110.
When I shot a bear 2 years ago, they had an hour and a half drive to get to our place.
Yep.
There was nobody within an
Nobody
hour
there.
and a half.
Yeah, well, and just think about, I don't know, compare it to just like everyday crime that happens in relation to the number of police officers.
Yeah,
So,
30 in a 10-mile square area.
and so there's a lot of room for
Fuckers.
There just
tomfoolery.
is.
That's what I was gonna say. But
Yeah, I mean, there just is, and I mean, I think that's you start to look at some of these things that are jeopardizing the resource, right? And even like, and I get it, we're on a hunter decline now in terms of some of these states, and including Pennsylvania, but I think when you start to see one of the big things in Pennsylvania, along with the what day should it be, is they're increasing the number of doe tags by 15% this year.
Yeah.
So like over 120,000 more doe tags. Now, the thing is I don't necessarily think that it's going to kill more does because, frankly, there's just not any more places to hunt.
Either.
Like, people can buy 5 doe tags. Like, where are you going to hunt at? But if you tell them that they can kill 5 deer, they're going to go out and try to kill 5 deer.
Sure.
That is the boundaries of it. There are very few people that I think will say, well, no, I understand what my herd needs, and I'm only going to shoot 3, or I'm only going to shoot 2. It's just, you tell them they can shoot this many, and you give them that many tags, they're going to go do it.
It's hard to like change the perspective from like us 4 right here, where we think about deer hunting all of the time. And I think about like my brother and a couple of his friends, they are hunting, but I
They
don't know.
hunt.
I don't know that they're as in tune with what we're talking about. So for someone like that who might see an increase in doe tags,
Yeah, they're like,
Like-
oh, that's great.
yes, they're like, I don't think that people in general are critically thinking about like what's
Well,
right.
we heard-
Actually,
listen.
with I'm sorry to cut you off.
It's
With
okay.
us turkey hunting, I can anecdotally say from 2 years ago, hunting turkey, it was horrible. There were not many turkeys around.
Yeah.
There were not many turkeys around. And
There were none.
as time has gone on, we've seen the population increase. And not only like increase, but increase year over year over year.
It's
and
exploding.
it's incredible to see. It has not made the turkey hunting much easier for us, but like that's something that we have really paid attention to. And I don't know that the average guy who, hunts a couple times a year, tries to fill his deer tag every year is going to pay attention to. They're just going to say, they might not even say, is this legal or not? But they're probably going to say like, all right, what's allowed? They're giving
Yeah.
me more doe tags.
Where's my boundaries? Where are my guardrails?
Yeah. Like they're not going to think about it further than that. And I don't know that it's their job to
And
necessarily.
it's not. That's kind of the point that I was going to roll into. Is like I think we can't expect people necessarily to like be as invested as we are.
Yeah.
In managing like wildlife. I mean, that's the reason that the regulations exist.
People
You
get mad at us for that. And it's not to be rude to them. You just don't care about deer and wildlife as much as I do. And I don't have any problem saying that. You've got other hobbies, and there's things that you care about that I don't give a shit about.
Or even have the time to like. I mean, case in point, we talk a lot about the crossbow thing, and like we're obviously, we'd prefer to see less of that overlapping with archery season. Is kind of our stance on it. But I definitely
Depending on the group, like kids, seniors, injured, like all for it. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, right. But I can't say anything bad about somebody choosing to hunt legally, like with that weapon. Like that's
Agree.
that's totally it's a legal means of harvest. Like they should do it. Like everybody wants to kill as effectively as they can kill. Like I get it. And so I think we kind of put the blame on like the rule or the law that is allowing them to do so.
Baiting's no different. I mean, we criticize baiting in like a state like Ohio, yet at the same time, because it's legal, like I do it.
I have
And
a
it's
big
not that I
issue.
want to do it. It's just like if you look at the scenarios around me, if I do not do it, I will lose deer that I'm trying to protect. And it seems stupid, and people say, well, that's the stupidest thing ever. Just don't bait. And it's like, I get it. But that guy's dumping 10 tons a year. If I have a 600-pound feeder full, at least that 3-year-old may stay around my place and not get killed. If I don't do it, he's dead, 100%.
Yeah, and objectives are different too. I mean, people don't have property. People
That's
are on
it.
public land. They're
They
For
are
sure.
and they aren't.
They are.
How are they? Go ahead. You go
Some-
first.
Some people want a big buck.
Yes.
They dream about
Everybody wants a big buck.
everybody. You're right. Everybody wants.
That's
big
where
buck.
they aren't.
Some people are willing to shoot smaller deer.
Most people.
me included.
Yep.
We don't
Me too.
manage. We don't. You too. We don't manage property. We don't have. Yeah, we don't have means to protect that resource that you would claim as yours.
I
which-
wouldn't.
Well, kinda. Right.
So go ahead.
You're trying to protect your 3.5-year-old deer to get him to 4.5, 5.
Not mine. Just the.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
But doesn't it
No
sting
doubt.
a little if he
You're
shot
right.
on
But-
the neighbor's land?
Say again?
Probably. I said, doesn't it sting a little if he shot on the
It
For
does.
neighbor's
sure,
land?
it does.
It does.
okay,
It
so
does.
it's not your deer. You acknowledge it's not your deer.
I do.
But you treat it like it's yours,
Okay.
and you want it to be.
Well,
yours.
I'm investing in it. Yeah, sure.
I feel a sense of like, I'd like to protect that deer.
A lot of people don't care about that.
100%.
Yeah, and
And I get that. I've
that
been there.
that also has to be acknowledged. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
there's only so much you can
Maybe
do.
even a better way to say it, from my perspective, is not a disownership as much as I would say that it's a shared ownership.
Sure.
Because it's the deer. It's not my deer. Even though it's on my property.
Yeah.
It roams multiple properties, and that's not to say I don't own the deer because it's not on my property as much as we all own it, right? Because it's
Yes.
Yeah, and so I would say
There's
that
a
way.
weird trade-off there too. So like my Ohio farm borders a lot of public, like my line and
Ooh, I
the
love
public
that.
line.
That's really cool.
Right? So and
That's like
funny.
my
I-
dream
That's
property.
funny.
Yeah,
I
that
hate
is
that.
cool.
And-
See, I would
Oh,
love
no,
that too.
no,
yeah,
no.
see, I like it.
That's my pick. Right
Now,
there. Yeah.
transparently, I'm about to have a pretty substantial timber harvest. Like I'm trying to improve habitat. I plant food plots. You know, I do a lot of
You
work. on my
burn
pla-
too.
Yes. And so,
Allie, I burned 26 acres this year.
yeah.
Nice. That's
And
cool.
so, you know, my argument
likes that.
to the public people, and there's, you know, not a ton of people hunt it, but they do. Like you're benefiting off of a lot of the things I'm doing on my property, like because it's a shared deer, right? That deer's spending time on mine, and sure, I'd love to protect him, but if you shoot him, it's probably gonna be in a hell of a pretty good condition considering what he's experienced on my area.
To Allie's comment about the turkey population earlier, I think a majority of that is due to private landowner
management.
investment.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I feel so strongly
Yeah, it's a
about
double-edged sword. I mean, there's
Huge.
a lot that private property owners do that positively impact the herd as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, the people who are hunting the public, they don't understand it. They don't have that time and money invested, so they're not going to. Do you know what I'm trying to say? They're
Yes,
not
I
gonna,
do.
Yeah,
100%.
It's
Yes.
really
Well, and
I-
we hunt public land too, and like the only way that we can affect that property is by shooting deer off of it.
That's
There,
it.
there is no positive investment.
Yeah, there's
that we
no
can
food
make.
plot, there's no cutting timber, there's no burning. We can't do any of that.
I think
can't
the
bait,
the
can't do any of
biggest
that.
way that you can positively impact the environment in terms of wildlife management is through private land. And
That's
it's working with private landowners
Yeah, that's
and
huge.
figuring out their needs and figuring out how you can like best leverage that.
Some of the biggest disadvantages of
huge.
this state, like where you guys are at, there's so much state and national owned land, and I'm not saying it's mismanaged, but you know, cutting had slowed for
Some
a while.
of it is. Some of it is.
Yeah, I mean, if the pure focus was not on timber and other natural resources, which we touched on this the other day, like, and again, I don't know if it's true. It's kind of you find news facts here, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 8% of the Game Commission's revenue is coming from licenses, and it's like 60% coming from oil and gas,
Extractive. Yeah.
which
Honestly,
would make
like,
sense, right?
Yeah.
It
no,
makes
100%.
perfect sense. And to me, like I find that the state lands in Pennsylvania are fairly well managed.
Mhm.
I don't know that they're the best,
I
but I
agree.
definitely don't think that they're the worst.
They're
I've heard
not
that-
the
I've
worst.
heard that as well.
They're not
better,
the worst.
They're better,
And I
far better
think-
than federal.
I think that the way that they're managing it and utilizing oil and gas
Mhm.
to generate income is better than
And they're
not at all.
acquiring. I mean, these
Yeah.
other states are like trying to protect lands and stuff. I mean, the Game Commission is actively acquiring because of
And I
oil
love
and gas.
that. I think
The-
that's amazing.
The disconnect that you see is like game lands are managed for game, right? And they get oil and gas, and they get some timber. But like when you go to the DCNR side in state forest, that's managed for timber. It is managed for wildlife, but priority is for timber. So there's different kind of focuses of each of those. And so if you look at like a game lands and how it's cut and how it's managed, it's probably much more aggressive than if you look at a state forest.
It
or
is.
It
especially
comes
a
down
natural
to like
forest.
you probably won't find grouse in a state
You won't.
forest, but you'll find grouse on game.
because they
Wow.
cut the hell out of it.
Dude, I'll say this, and I'll try to like get a coherent thought out here because there's a lot. Like
We drank all that just so
I know that's pretty impressive.
Whoops.
We
Time is it?
It's almost 3.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
as a baseline
5 o'clock
as
somewhere.
as a baseline for like this statement. So like we've talked to a lot of land managers, Jeff Sturgis being one of them, who will basically the thought is that like pressure is far we'll have a lot more of an impact than like
It's more detrimental.
way more detrimental than any impact that you can have by doing timber projects, and any kind of land project. And so I don't think like you and I have any issue with how Pennsylvania manages its resource. Like it's from the sense that like
Here's the guardrail.
well, it's done this way. Where I think it kind of is thrown by the wayside is how the seasons are applied to it, which equal pressure. I mean, and then
Well,
so the secondary thought to that is like, do you think about a public resource? Like never in the like there, tragedy of the commons is like something that we learn about in high school, right? It's like any public resource inherently is going to be like it's a tragedy,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Like
impressive.
Can't get beat
I
up.
don't remember that lesson.
you don't remember that? You know what tragedy of the commons is? It's basically a rule of law that basically a public resource won't get taken care of the way that something that's owned privately
Somebody's
will.
always going to pull it in one direction or another.
Yeah, and so regardless of how well the timber is managed or how many food plots are put
Right.
on it, it doesn't matter. When I let people with crossbow go in there on October 1st, whatever it is, like
Well, no, you're right.
whatever's applying pressure, take crossbows out of the equation. Whatever it is that's over pressuring a resource, it's going to diminish in quality.
Well, it is crossbows too, but recent report came out. Pennsylvania is the #1 archery pressure state. 300 plus thousand.
They've always been the number one.
300 plus
It's
thousand.
like 20 per
I don't
square
know
mile,
if that's
right?
like a.
I mean,
thing to
there's
twirl or not.
nobody close to us, right? And, I mean, and you're thinking about Wisconsin, Minnesota,
Yeah, Michigan.
Michigan, like all of these guys that are like super hunter dense don't hold a candle to what Pennsylvania is doing in terms of the amount of pressure during hunting season. Now, we have a giant land base, right? And we have great public land. It's still very relevant to what Michigan and Minnesota and Wisconsin have. And so when you start to look at that impact of pressure, essentially, and we asked Brian Burhans, executive director, kind of the question of like, well, okay, if we just break down archery season, like what's the difference between vertical bows and crossbows, right? He basically told us it was 50-50, which is alarming to me, considering how many years ago it was all vertical bows. So, okay, we just added essentially
I don't think
double.
that's true either.
Well, I mean, I'm just going off of what he told us, right?
Well, I'm just saying I don't think it's true.
What, you think it's more crossbow?
Yeah,
I would
Really?
assume. I would assume too.
for sure.
Well, do you think that has added hunters, or do you think
Absolutely.
that hunters
I think it
have
was like-
converted too?
I mean,
Both.
you definitely have some aging demographics converting, and
Both.
that's given. But I mean, if we're at 300,000, I bet if you go back 20 years ago, right, you're probably at 150.
Even though hunter numbers are declining
Correct. Archery numbers have been increasing in this state.
because of crossbows. Gotcha.
Wow, archery.
Yeah. We don't know. I mean, but it's not to say that we can't handle it, right? What we lack in this state that other states have been very transparent about is the data, right? Like Jared and I asked a simple question of like, well, how many deer were killed on the first Sunday, right? Because it was like we finally had a Sunday hunting rifle season.
Well,
How many deer?
I mean, dude,
And it's like, well, we need to get 3 years, and we'll take the why? Well, just tell me how many were
Yeah.
killed.
it's worth asking at least, like to preface the conversation. What if there is one? What would you say is the problem with deer hunting in Pennsylvania?
Is there a problem though?
Is there one?
I mean,
fair question.
I will say that I graduated high school. I'll age myself in this table. I graduated high school in 2003. So that was
Wait, what?
2003.
2003? You graduated high school?
Yeah.
How did you know that?
I graduated in 2011.
Yeah.
I was 2009. I'm not
How's that even
far
add
behind.
up?
It adds up.
3.
Although people think Jared and I are the same age. So we like that.
It's because my hairline and Jeremy's immaturity.
Yeah, my immaturity. That's good. So 2003. So Gary Alt had come through in 2000 and 2001 doing his kind of antler restrictions, concurrent buck doe season. So I was there. Like I remember going to the town hall meetings for the change and stuff. I was very opposed because mainly my
You
family
went to the
was.
town hall meetings?
Yeah,
You did really?
to 3 of them.
Wow.
Just because I was at that point I was a fuck off. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do.
You're like, where's the keg?
Yeah. Well, at that point, I decided I was going to go to school for wildlife management, so I figured I'd like.
It's actually really
cool.
cool that you went to those meetings.
Yeah, I went to
I
this
feel
meeting. And it was crazy. I mean, the guy literally. I mean, there were people that wanted to kill that dude in the crowd.
People are pissed. Yeah.
Yep. And I was on the side of like, you know what? I don't want change. Like this. Like, what is this guy talking about? Because at that point, I was killing every 1-year-old I saw. It didn't matter. But if you look at where we were there, and then even 10 years later, so let's say 2013, 14, when you guys kind of really got into it, huge jump in the quality of deer in this state, right?
Wow.
Numbers weren't. I mean, I can remember as a kid when I went out and hunted with my dad, I would see 100 deer a day. Like easily 100 deer a day in the big
Literally.
woods. In the big woods.
Yeah.
Clearfield County. No. Clearfield County.
100 deer a day?
100 deer a day. And I would see
Yeehaw.
2 bucks.
Oh.
maybe. You know, I mean, you would see a herd. There were times that I would watch a herd of 30 deer come through, and you were scoping for 1 3-inch spike in that herd, and you could not find it. Just how it was.
Scoping.
Yeah.
No binos.
I doubt no binos. We were scoping lever action
Oh,
30s.
orange hat.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Oh,
No, don't worry.
geez,
Just slide.
no.
But so, I mean, those were kind of, and I mean, that's how, it wasn't how everybody was, right? Because in the 60s and 70s, there weren't a whole lot of deer. The 80s, it started coming back. The 90s were like the heyday. All of a sudden, guys were seeing 100 deer a day, right? That's the deer camp I got introduced to. I was 8 years old. So that would have been like, I don't know, 92 or 93. I went to my first deer camp, and my dad shot a 2-year-old 8-point that year. But it's dude, we paraded that deer around. The meat was probably not good by the end of it, right? But I mean, it was a 13-inch 2-year-old 8-point, you know, in a history of like basket racks and spikes, right? But I remember putting on drives and stuff that we saw like hundreds of deer. And so people got so used to that, right? That all of a sudden it was like, okay, well, you're not going to shoot these. And I think the bigger thing, and people don't hover on this that much, was when they said, hey, you could shoot a doe during buck season the whole time. Like we had doe season the 3 days after buck season, right?
Yeah.
It used to be all of a sudden you would hear a shot and you're like, well, I know that's a buck coming, right? You hear a shot. When that happened, no shit. I remember talking to like Vietnam vets who were like flashbacking because I mean, it was a war in those woods. It was brown, it's down. That's where it came from, right? Yeah. And so you had these like huge pivots in change. Now, if you talk to most people, even the guys who really, like even my dad's age, who, you know, grew up hunting kind of those heydays of seeing 80, 90, 100 deer, he loves it, right? Because he's like, I see bigger deer than I've ever seen in my life. You ask him if they see as many, nowhere close, right? If you see 50 deer in a season, right, you're lucky versus seeing 50 deer on opening day. There were guys who considered opening day a failure if they saw less than 50 deer. But that just was the culture that we grew up in.
But that's not better deer hunting.
Well, it wasn't better for the habitat either.
Yeah, it's not better for the herd. It's not better for the experience.
Was not better
in my opinion, it's not better for the experience. It's not better.
But if you talk to all those guys who experienced it that way, and I mean, I get it. Like, there's still people today that I talk to, they're like, man, you know, hunting sucks. I didn't see any deer. Well, what if you took them back in the 90s and they saw 100 deer? You didn't see a buck, right? But you saw 100 deer.
So you still didn't harvest anything. You didn't feel a tag.
Did they enjoy it? Did they not? And
I don't know.
Those
And
are the state
that is
jumps
such a
that
weird question.
That's
those
my
are
point
the state
about
jumps that made.
objectives, dude. Objectives.
It is. It's huge.
It's different.
I
It's different
love
for
that
everybody.
states are able to manage differently because while I'm personally so happy that we cannot bait in Pennsylvania because I feel like it enhances my experience as someone who hunts primarily on public land to be able to hunt deer and there is no baiting here.
Correct.
I also love going to places like Kentucky where baiting is legal and it's an entirely different experience. So I enjoy the fact that states are able to manage differently.
Well, what it comes down to is like, because we experience the same benefit when we go to Kansas or Kentucky, baiting states as non-residents. Yeah, it's nice. It's convenient that we can roll in, drop a corn pile, and see deer. Who doesn't like that is the private landowner with acreage. You know, because they've been investing into this deer herd for years. You know, passing on deer, and
I'm in that same place in Ohio.
Yeah.
Like I want to keep investing in my habitat.
I'm the way in Ohio
and improve. Like we had a conversation with the timber guy I was with yesterday, and I've got a ton of great timber that I'm gonna take off this place, and it's gonna enhance the deer hunting a lot. And he said, well, what's the hurdle? And I said, well, you know, I saw some really good deer, and frankly, I have cameras on public. Like if anybody hunted my public boundary, like they're in some good deer. The neighbor, like half mile down the road, is outfitting and dropping 20 tons of corn a year. The deer he has on camera, I'm like, holy shit. Where are those deer at? Well, they're not coming anywhere near my place because they can bed off here. The does are right here, and there's 20 tons of corn right here.
Why would they leave? Yeah.
They just don't have to leave. So it almost doesn't. And at some point, they'll stop feeding, and if I have better habitat, they'll show up on my place. But it's like, you know, I'm fighting an uphill battle here, and it's almost like a weird layering system, right? Because I'm
just for perspective too, because I like for people to understand this. 20 tons of corn at $7 a bag $5,600.
It's not that much.
Not that much.
And
It's
maybe
doable.
To a lot of people, it's like, oh, what do you mean it's not much? It's $5,000. If you're an outfitter and you're charging $5,000 per hunt,
Nothing.
it's not that much, right?
Not nothing, but it's
But it's a layered system because I've got,
a write-off.
and I don't mean this in a bad way. They're not doing anything for habitat. It's literally stand, pile corn. Okay, I'm investing a lot of money into habitat.
Do it.
Yeah, just go. I'm investing a lot of money into the habitat, right? And it's going to take time to improve it. And yeah, I'm baiting some. Then next to me is public who can't do shit. You are at the disposal of whatever the state says we're going to do, right? Yeah. So you've got this weird layering system to where, frankly, if anything, my property should probably be the hub, right? Because I'm investing the most into future habitat, natural habitat to grow and support deer. Therefore, public should benefit from that, and this outfitter should benefit by that. But artificially, right, I'm in the middle and basically feeding off of where their corn piles are, and public's getting the shaft.
And the unfortunate reality is that, like, whether you want to bait or not, for you to have the opportunities that you would have had without baiting existing, is that you have to bait.
I have to.
You
I don't have a
to.
choice. Yeah. And I mean,
that's
transparently, I do hunt over some bait piles, but it's like, that's not how I want to set up and try. If tomorrow, Ohio struck down baiting, I'd do cartwheels.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of
That would be
effort I'm
amazing.
putting into my habitat. And frankly, anybody who's hunting public next to me just immediately increase their chances of killing big deer.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Or just deer in period. I mean, it would be astronomical better because
it would level the playing field. Well, in some ways it would, in some way, like,
it's an artificial. It's so weird to fathom that. I'm trying to think of like how to relate it in like our human, like daily lives. It would be like, if you and Allie are growing like your own food and you have your own sustainable place, and then there's this like all of a sudden an asphalt pad drops and a grocery store drops right there, and it's like, oh well, I can get everything over here.
It's half of theirs. Yeah.
It's so weird to think of how this artificial kind of setup is, and again, from a biological side, it is not healthy for wildlife because those deer end up depending on that food source that is artificially put there. The moment you pull back out, it takes time for them to transition out of that stuff.
I'll give you a bodybuilding example. It's like if you've been
I'm a P2.
it's like if you've been, and you're gonna like us too, Jeremy. You might hear it from the restroom there. Okay. It's like if you're competing in a natural bodybuilding competition and the prize is $1 million. And you've been training for years, and you've invested all this time and money into like your supplements, like your home facility, like your trainer, like all these things, and then all of a sudden, they stop testing, and somebody who just started lifting 2 years ago just pumps himself full of juice and can come in and win your $1 million. Yeah, that's basically what it is, and you have the option to juice. But do you want to? Like, is that what's best for your body? Is that what, but do you have an option?
I know, but when
if you want the $1 million,
when you're comparing that to a guy hunting public land who just can't afford to buy 40 acres or 80 acres or 250 acres, it's not the same.
Well, the playing field would be leveled way in their favor. Public land hunters would benefit from the banning of baiting maybe more than anybody else.
I agree.
Absolutely would.
Because all those deer that would be pulling off of public land onto private land where they can be baited to would no longer have that attraction. The dispersal would happen.
Especially if the state is.
Did you hear that example?
I was going to say.
Did you hear that example? That was one of the better examples
It
I've
was
ever
pretty good. Well, I mean, to that point, the state is likely managing that habitat better than the private landowner who's just dumping a pile of corn.
Okay.
Like, maybe not you or I, but the guy who owns 15 acres who's just dumping a pile of corn and not doing anything. The state's habitat in property is better managed and suited.
The people who will suffer from the banning of baiting is the people who, first of all, aren't doing anything anyways, but maybe they only...
Not in a bad way. Maybe they have 5 acres.
Right. Maybe they have 3 or 5 acres.
They can't do anything.
And they have the luxury of going out and dumping a corn pile and pulling deer off of these bigger surrounding tracts and killing them. And that's typically that one guy. Like, if you get in the community, there's all these people managing their 1,000-acre tracts or whatever a couple 100-acre tracts that are like, if just this one guy is killing all these deer,
Yeah.
You know, and so that guy would be hurt the most by the banning of baiting, you know, in that situation.
It's a weird conversation because it's something we don't do. Like,
What does Iowa allow?
No
Not
baiting.
baiting.
No baiting, no crossbows.
And Iowa is like the
The
state,
Mecca
it
still.
sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that because of what they have, like what the deer have in terms
I mean,
of
soil fertility
Definitely
is
has a
still
ton to do
off
with
the
it.
charts.
Large parcel sizes.
Yep,
My turn.
and they have a pretty
An average?
they have
Go
a
for it.
pretty dedicated, you know, resident hunting community. Which keep in mind, if you're a landowner, you can kill $3
Ooh.
in Iowa.
That's wild.
But
Which is my reason to believe that like the quota number doesn't necessarily impact
it doesn't.
deer herd as much as.
But if
these
you're
other
a
things.
non-resident, especially on, you know, most of this, but you know, it's every 5 to 6 years that you're getting in to hunt. Whereas even in Kansas is probably every other year. So it, you know, when you start to look at kind of how those, and here's the weird thing, and it's, again, it kind of goes back to that artificial mention is, if you own 3 acres, right, unless you're in like Columbus or Atlanta or Birmingham or whatever, you shouldn't be killing a ton of deer on 3 acres.
That's the harsh reality.
Harsh reality. But if you are able to bait and suck them in from large parcels around you, you kill a lot of deer and big deer that way.
That is the reality. I mean,
It's artificial.
that's where, you know, you get into the conversation of like, you know, hunting being like a rich man's sport. You know, is like the way you kill deer without baiting is by owning land
A lot of land. Too.
or hunting public land. You know, public land would be improved by the banning of baiting. You know, it's the people who, you know, enjoy the luxury of baiting on small private properties and killing big deer that, you know, frankly, it's stealing from everybody else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In that sense, you know, and it's not that they're I would do the same thing. If I,
I mean,
had 5
Iowa's
acres, if
the
that's
same
all I
way.
had.
I mean, if you asked how many people are killing giant deer or even just deer in general on 5 acres or less in Iowa, it's not many people, right? Because it's just not natural. Like, you get lucky every once in a while.
Right. Yeah, just your odds are less.
But if you
It's
look
just-
at Ohio, Kansas, Kentucky,
it'd be a lot of
substantial.
them. It'd be a lot of them.
In Florida, baiting is allowed on private land, but not on public land.
That's every state. Every state where
Is there
baiting's
any
allowed.
states that are
Really?
publicly
Yeah.
baited?
That's the
Nothing.
reason public land would improve so greatly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because you'd
baiting's
balance
only allowed
out, you
on private
balance it
land.
out right across the board.
Okay.
Can you? So when you say you can bait for hogs, you can bait for deer. You can't bait for turkeys, right?
It's 100
Yes,
yards.
you can.
You
It's a-
can.
It's
But you
100
can't
yards.
shoot them within 100
You can't
yards.
shoot 'em with
Holy
100 yards of
shit.
feeder.
Yeah.
See, like in Kentucky, just made a big move, and probably people listening to this don't even
Step
know.
off.
You
me.
couldn't bait during turkey season in Kentucky. Okay, it wasn't allowed. Now they pushed it to where from March 1 to July 31, you can't bait. So no, like, you know, protein feeders or anything like that until August 1st starts. It's not going to be a huge like impact on things, but it is, you know, all of a sudden it, you know, give a little, well, soon they're going to take the mile. And I wouldn't be surprised that at some point Kentucky starts to chew into that thing a little bit more. And frankly, they don't have a lot of hunters to manage. They're one of the lower ones on the archery side, especially. But you know, when you look at Ohio and you look at Kansas, like at some point, disease is going to be the one that throws
Yeah.
baiting out.
I
of
was
the
going to
window.
say, in theory, if every state banned baiting, wouldn't private landowners still be in the win through
huge,
food plots?
huge timber
everything.
cuts,
Yeah.
whatever you want to control.
Over,
Right,
well,
'cause you
no.
You can make
It would
it
just be private landowners.
private
it would,
landowners.
It would be.
But they'd still benefit. If baiting was gone, right? Obviously, public land would benefit from that. But you can still go plant a food plot or do timber cuts. They can't do that.
You
on
could still
public
Or
manage your
burn.
habitat better.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, for
Well,
sure.
yeah,
better.
but I think a distinction should be made between like, you know, large parcels versus small parcels.
I think it's
Absolutely.
I think it's a
Private land.
no-brainer.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Like pressure is a big advantage too.
How often do you guys hunt public?
Depends.
If we,
Why would you?
Why would we?
No
Yeah,
private.
why
no
would
private
you?
No
access.
private access.
I'm just
We do
asking.
it a lot in Kansas, a lot in Illinois, a lot in North Dakota. Anytime we're outside of states that we own property.
To
Yeah.
be honest, less and less.
We're almost
Because every time we do, I'm bashing my head against the wall.
we're
Like,
almost polar opposites. Like
Yeah.
just differing perspectives. Like we're 99% public and you guys are 99% private, and we all want the same thing.
I wouldn't say it's 99, honestly. I would say it's like out of state, it's 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have like our home court. Like I have a farm in Ohio.
Yeah.
I only hunt private in Ohio.
Same.
But when we go to
Well,
like,
I might hunt the public.
if we go to the
borders my
Midwest,
private.
like Kansas and other states, it's
all
about
public. Almost.
Well, I don't know
Unless
if
it's
it's even
a lease.
50-50. It's like usually we have a home base lease. You know, it's like we'll lock down a.
But we'll put the dads usually on that.
Got it.
and
then
usually put the
Jared
dads on it, and
then
Jeremy and I
Jared
stick
go-
to public. So
yeah,
we do
we
hunt
just run.
public,
And your experience on public isn't positive.
it's very
Has
nice.
Is
it
it because of other humans?
Mhm.
Yes,
Always.
solely because
It,
of other
it
humans.
used to be. I mean,
I was hunting turkey yesterday and like went to this spot and I was like I roosted these turkeys the night before.
Yeah.
We ended up hunting something else during the morning. So I was like, I'm going to go get them for that. Like
Yep.
10 a.m., 11 a.m.
Yep.
Like they're going to come
They're going to
in.
be working. Mhm.
There was somebody there. And so
Well,
I had
my-
to go park somewhere else. And I was like, I don't want to get in this.
My
dude's
wife
way.
is a trail runner, right? She called me yesterday and she's like, hey, turkey's still in. I was like, yeah. She's like, you wouldn't believe this. I pulled into a parking lot to run this trail. I get out. She's like, literally next to the truck is a blind popped up looking down the trail, turkey hunting.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's public land.
But generally speaking, our
But is that
experience,
state game lands?
is
Because
good.
then that gets
It was
in.
game lands. Yeah.
In which states?
Pennsylvania, Idaho, Florida. Florida's tough. Florida's.
I
Florida,
think you're
Well,
in
the
you're
West-
in the right area
Love
of
it.
Pennsylvania.
The
I
West
think.
is a different beast.
Yeah,
too.
West. We hunt all public in the West.
Yeah,
when we go mule deer
everybody
hunting,
does,
it's
though.
100% public.
Everybody.
land.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Well,
and I
'cause
think that's an easy, like,
There's so much
that's
more
an
of it.
easy thing to, like, whenever we lived in Idaho, it was easy to be like public land this, public land
'Cause
that.
that's what
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Because that's what it
it's
is.
BLM and stuff out there.
There
right? We
aren't
don't have that
private
here.
landowners who own whole mountain ranges.
No.
But think about the
So
number
then-
of hunters compared to the amount of public land in Idaho.
Huge.
Yeah.
Versus
It's
the
incredible.
amount of hunters versus the amount of public land in a state like Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Although I will say in places like Bozeman, Montana, for example, the trailheads around there are
Yeah.
hammered
Crazy.
with
Yeah.
people. And it's a weird concept to grasp because the amount of land that they have is still so vast. but the
Well,
way that they're accessing it is
Montana's
still
not necessarily the West anymore either, though, because when we go to Kansas, Oklahoma, I saw
Yeah.
a guy writing the other
Yeah.
day. Some of those Midwestern states, it's like, people will go, right? People will go, and around those metropolitan areas, like, outside
Yeah.
of Wichita, Kansas,
Kansas
it's like,
City.
yeah, every trailhead, there's 7 trucks at it. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's nuts.
So what's the solution? Is baiting
Access.
and
More access and less baiting.
literally just more
shorter
places
crossbow
to park,
seasons.
more places to park and
No,
hike
no.
in.
It's not, it's not
No.
the parking that's the issue. It's the mass size of
I-
the public
I-
land
I
behind
don't
it.
know. I
well-
think that if you had the same track of public land and there were more places to literally park your vehicle
To
and
get into?
access
yeah, but what are
it,
you gonna do?
that it would feel a lot less crowded.
It
Because I
would.
don't think people
I don't
hike
think
that
so.
far into
I mean,
it.
it might feel like
I don't
it.
know. The other day, I parked right behind some people's like homes. And I was hiking in to access this particular area that I wanted to get to. And I didn't see a single person. I didn't hear a single person turkey hunting.
I think,
I was all by myself.
uh,
But it was just because I went around and like accessed it
Mm-hmm.
through a different roundabout way, even though there were people parked at the place that you normally go in.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I have this past year in Kansas, I have a very similar, I was accessing it from a different way. And so I didn't even experience the parking lot. I didn't even see it. I was the only one that was able to come in from this other
and
direction.
you probably would have been deterred.
I
right?
figured it out. I absolutely would have been deterred. What deterred me after the fact was the 4 guys walking underneath my stand.
well,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and again, it's not picking on it. I think it was 2013 or 14 that Kansas legalized crossbows for everybody, right? I've been hunting there since 2010 or 11, something like that.
1889.
Yeah, 1889. What an asshole. Right? And I mean, there were tags left over in the zone after the archery draw, right? Now we're 2,000 over the quota,
Whoa.
right? And so what happened this past year, and I mean, was it 20? I think it was in 2020. It was a pandemic year. I killed a 157 on public land in Kansas.
I missed a one.
And you missed
160.
And I mean, it was hot, but I mean, we had we were in them, right? This past year, you couldn't find a public area that wasn't packed with a Kansas resident. And it's because all of these non-residents are coming in saying, oh yeah, I'll give you $30 an acre for a lease. So all the people who have had access their entire life boop, they're booted. Where are they going to go? Public land. And so all of a sudden, all these public spots aren't just saturated with non-residents like us. They're saturated with Kansas residents who have been booted off of their lifelong hunting places because guys from Georgia and Texas are like, yeah, dude, I'll give you $30 an acre to hunt here.
I don't know that we've necessarily gotten far enough down the rabbit hole of like, yeah, we agree, baiting is bad. The crossbow thing I think has an impact on
archery,
on having people in the woods. We haven't covered a whole lot, and I don't know. Maybe we avoid the conversation because it's like we are non-residents in most of these states.
It's detrimental.
Yeah, when I don't know, it's not. We just haven't gone down it all the way. I know when we talk to Skip, he's an advocate of like
tighter,
and I would
tighter,
agree.
Tighter. Favor the residents.
Prioritize the residents for sure.
I prioritize,
which you should.
And as someone in
right?
Pennsylvania, I hate that. Right? Like I'm like, man, I want to be able to
go to
hunt
these other places,
good deer states. But if it's ultimately if it's going to jeopardize the quality of the deer hunting in a state, well.
But it's also where there's a lot of money, right? Because what's the Kansas guy paying? $30 for his tag. I'm paying $500 for my non-resident.
Well, so that's
tag.
what I'm saying is I want to explore every single avenue before it comes to like limiting.
So for
the
every
non-residents.
for every one of me, it'd have to be 13 residents buying a tag.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one avenue, but like so in Kansas is a baiting state. I would say get rid of baiting and see what happens. Before we
You'd
make
still
it
have a ton of people. We would still go, right?
Absolutely.
So you guys are into the idea of getting rid of baiting.
Oh, we've
very
been
much
for it.
Very much.
Absolutely.
For the record, I did talk to the agronomist in Carrollton
About deer and corn sales.
And so
this is a big one for us.
This was post our conversation with Eric. I wanted to just understand what we should be paying a farmer per acre to leave corn or beans. He gave me a lot of clarity on that. I can share that later. I got into him.
The $1 million question.
Got into it a little bit with him. Like, dude, how much do you think? If the state of Ohio banned baiting, obviously a concern there would be the economic impact it has on farmers. What do you think that is? And he was like, well, and he's a smart guy.
Yeah,
very smart guy. But I've been talking to him. We might have him on here at some point. He thought about it quite a bit. And he kind of ran some different scenarios and stuff. He's like, it's less than 5%.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, no brainer.
Less than 5%.
Push it
at the very most.
We're gonna start a petition.
Yeah. Well, the job of the Game Commission also isn't to employ farmers.
Yeah, we don't want to do there, Nick, is we don't want to.
Well, Game Commission is not even a part of this equation.
We don't want to
other than the fact that baiting is legal.
We don't want to cause an economic negative effect on people who, frankly, are already working super hard to try to make a living.
Neither would I, and that's the Saturday Monday thing. That's another,
huge on that side.
It's not their job to keep Bobby's gun shop open.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not.
Well, it's the same thing in Pennsylvania when they're like, we can't open every Sunday because we got to make the farmers and the religious people happy. And it's like, why?
Give me a break.
I was like, if they don't want to hunt, who cares? They'll hunt. Let me hunt. They don't have to hunt.
To Nick's point about it's not their job to keep it. It's not. But we'd be kidding ourselves if that law didn't directly affect their business.
It does.
In the same way it would affect the farmer.
The Saturday Monday thing affected businesses substantially, especially where the camp settings were in Pennsylvania.
In a positive way, no?
I don't think so.
Well, apparently no.
Allowing Sunday hunting to be open.
Well, I'm not arguing the Sunday. I'm just saying the move of the Saturday, because people eventually said, well, listen, I've got Thanksgiving. I'm out of town. I come back Friday. I can't go to camp anymore.
I think the fact that Sunday hunting is illegal is the dumbest.
It is the dumbest thing.
Wouldn't maybe they make up for the revenue lost from moving opener to Saturday?
There's just no reason.
Moving the opener to Saturday. And then
Sunday
bringing in Sundays.
Well, it is open, obviously.
The compromise has been: do we just go Sunday opener, or should it be Monday and then 2 Sunday openers? And again, to
how
me,
about just every Sunday? There's no reason.
Sunday opener might be.
I just want to see the number.
And fresh
all I really care about
I can see people getting offended. Like that's when people go to church. I get it.
I just want to understand how many more deer are getting shot on the Sunday that is opened. That's all I want to know.
Honestly, for us,
Probably not
another anecdotal
not.
situation. For us, we have people with us hunting all season, influx throughout the season. Some weekends they're there, some weekends they're not. Some weekends we have a bunch, some weekends only one friend's there. And what I have seen is Sundays typically where we have had too much fun from celebrating a kill from Friday or Saturday that we're not
Nobody's
hunting
even,
Sunday.
People still don't hunt.
Yeah.
And then the Sundays when nobody's there
Football
and it's
game.
just us, we will hunt. So it like net, I haven't seen this like huge uptick
I do
in
think it's a
amount
big
of deer
deal.
that we have
The
killed
option
personally.
should be there.
Yeah,
But I
it should be
love
there.
that the option is there.
I think, I do think it's a big deal. Like the first year it was legal, so it was probably
2019 maybe.
2019. My oldest, who at that time was 8, shot a 4-point at like 732. I mean, it was like just getting light. And like to me, it was a huge deal. You know, first of all, it's like my first kid killed his first deer, right?
First Sunday too.
And I told him, I was like, dude, you don't understand. My entire
Historic.
life, I have not been able to hunt this day.
Yeah.
I've sat on the sidelines, right? Like you literally may have shot the first buck in the
Ever.
state on a Sunday legally in a long, long, long time.
That's cool.
You know, and he can't fathom that. To me, I'm like gooey over
Did
it.
you-
He'll
did
talk
you-
about that in like 30 years.
Did you realize at that time?
The moment it hit the ground, dude.
Did you realize at that time like that that law was like the dumbest? You're like, why?
It was such a barrier.
Why have we?
Yeah.
Why?
Because we
has
hunted
this
all
been a thing?
Saturday. Saturday was open that year, right? We hunted all day Saturday. He missed the button buck, was all down on himself about it. And I was like, dude, listen, it happens. Like, not a big deal, right? So all of a sudden it was like, holy shit, we can hunt Sunday morning, right? So we get up and it's perfect weather, like cold, crisp, quiet. This dumb 1-year-old comes off the hill and I'm like canning it for like 30 minutes. Like any other buck, this thing's gone, right? But he's just like, what the hell is this, you know? And he comes up and he just drops it in his tracks. And it was like the moment it hit the ground, it was like, what a complete unbelievable thing that like this day has not been able to be hunted in the past.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, and I know there were people pissed, not about like him killing, but about Sunday being open.
Yeah.
But, you know, I had left the state like you guys. I'd moved away. I'd lived in Mississippi and stuff where, you know, I could, and people down there laughed at me when it was like, oh my God, we can hunt Sundays. Like, I'm like a little kid, you know? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, we can't hunt Sundays. They're like, what?
Do you know, for some reason, what I want to compare that to is like, and you guys can maybe attest to this too, is like having started your own business and having worked for somebody before that was a 9-to-5.
Mm-hmm.
You remember like the transition, and you worked for Cabela's, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and do you remember, so there was a time in your life where you're like, I have to be at this place
Yep.
for X amount of time.
Yep.
And when it's over, I can leave.
Check in, check out.
And so you find yourself like trying to find ways to like be whatever, be
Proactive,
busy, be
yeah,
provision,
yeah.
you know, watch Midwest Whitetail.
That's what Jared did when he worked for me.
And can you remember when you started your own business and like eventually you were freed up from that commitment to your 9-to-5 and you're like, it's midday. And I'm like in the truck drive, like I've never seen this part of the day. And you're like, just that feeling of freedom that you're like, why didn't I do this earlier? Or whatever, you know,
Because you couldn't.
just
is
that
what it was.
Yeah, it was illegal. I mean, that's what it is. But you know, that's the experience of freedom. That's like, why keep that from people?
It's such a weird. Well, it's no different than like our archery season stopping prior to gun season, right? In Ohio, you just keep hunting.
Yeah.
Like when hunting season starts, it
Dude,
doesn't stop till
This
the end.
season in Ohio, I don't know if you guys are familiar. It starts like a week before Pennsylvania's opener. So typically last weekend in September.
Yeah.
It goes through like the first or second weekend of February.
Yeah.
Never stops.
You just hunt,
Yeah.
right? Here it's like, last day archery. Now I got 2 weeks till guns. It's like,
There's
why?
no reason to have
Remember
a start.
when it used to be
stop,
like,
start,
oh,
stop.
turkey hunters are in too. Better have your orange hat. Better
That's
have, like,
exactly
all
it.
this stuff.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
complicated.
and I mean, and I'm not arguing against it. We are going to migrate. I don't know if it'll be 2 years from now or 5 years from now. We are going to be at the point where it's just like hunting season opens. There will be some structure to it, right? But it will run through. Like, it's just inevitable that they're going to keep this thing so stagnant. It's just too much resources and too much management on it. You're just going to let it wide open. Archery will touch the day before gun season. Then it'll roll in the gun season.
well, it has been. I mean, a couple years ago,
In
what
2B?
there was 10 days.
Yeah, well, we have an
Where-
extra week now.
Yeah, where we hunt, where it used to be, it cut 4 or 5 days before bear season even started.
Correct.
Then it was bear season. Then it was
Yep.
rifle season.
Now
And
rolls.
now they run it up.
Yep. So, I mean, it's just a matter of time before people are kind of just flowing from one to the next, like they do in Ohio, essentially. And I think the state can support it. What I don't think people are really fully recognizing is there's a giant economic impact on what those season structures look like, particularly in the northern part of the state where the camps are and stuff. I mean, it's no secret that most people are hunting, people that are around Pittsburgh in this area are not going up north anymore because they're like, well, I can walk up on my back door in 10 acres and probably kill a bigger buck than I'll kill up in
Great
Elk
buck.
County, right? What's sad about that is they're missing the camp experience, right? Like I try to regenerate that here even with my kids, and it's still not the same of like when I was at the camp for 4 or 5 days. I mean, I look forward to that the moment I left camp. I think that as you start to see that thing blend across, you'll start like a rejuvenation of those camps coming back because people have more time. You're not as panicked. You're not as stretched into areas.
Well, dude, look at our Kansas camp. And I mean, that's.
Dude, we looked forward to
I'm
it
in
all
my
year.
prime. Crocs, sweatpants, hair back,
I know.
Corona.
I killed first day. I was
What's better?
camp chef for
Like just the feeling.
I was camp chef for like 6 days, and I tracked multiple deer of your dad's too. but other than that, I enjoyed it because like I knew when they were coming back. I knew I had to pick up. I knew when I had to have dinner on.
Oh.
My deer's hanging out there. Like
Dude,
I was just like,
there is a feeling. It's like there's like that. I live for them, and I know when it's on. I said it right
well,
then
and
and
how
there. I was
sad
like,
is it that there are people that won't, and I'm not saying that they won't enjoy hunting, but they'll never experience that part of like hunting because it is the camaraderie aspect of it that we talk about this all the time. Like hunting is a very individual sport.
Ooh, I've got
Right?
a question.
Go for it.
Do you guys have chicks in your hunting camps?
No.
Yeah,
They
that's
cook.
like
Well, I mean, my
Mom-
wife,
Mom
that's a pretty
cooks.
typical thing.
my wife,
Yeah, we've been yelled at by old time campers.
there's no,
Have-
Yeah,
there's no
'cause
good,
I'm like-
there's no good reason
I'm
that
like,
we don't. It
no,
just,
but I get it though because
well,
a
just,
lot of women don't like they're not into the same things that men are into.
so
frankly,
my
that's just like the way
wife
it
is very much in. When we met when I was at Mississippi State. She was very into hunting. She got into hunting probably when you guys did like that, high school, early college age. She got into like duck hunting and then fell into deer hunting. And so, the entire time that we were married, like she was a big hunter. Like she would hunt, I would hunt, we'd hunt it together. And then sometime around when we had our first or second kid, then it started to fall off. And it's more because like she likes running and other stuff more, and I'm taking the kids out. But I mean, she'll still like during gun season, like she'll hunt one stand and I'll hunt with the kids in the other stand. And like so, like when so this year my youngest killed a buck behind the house, and like she's up in her stand, and so she gets down and comes over, and like it's a cool experience and stuff. So. We do, but like we never have had, like I never had them in my Pennsylvania camp. We don't, nobody comes with us to camp. Like this year it was just Jared and I and our dads, you know. And it's
I
not
feel
that
like,
we wouldn't.
well,
it's
I feel
just-
like it kills the vibes in a lot of sense.
You think so?
It totally.
I mean, Jared and I are pretty bold around women, so like we don't really
Yeah,
have an
we
issue.
well,
don't,
I
we don't
feel
hold
like-
back much.
No,
either.
no.
Yeah.
No, I guess I
You
say
can come
that.
to Kansas camp with us if you want.
Yeah, well, I totally would, and I know a couple other chicks.
Are you going to cook for us?
Absolutely.
well, I'm just the
Might as well.
The question is intriguing, and yeah, obviously it'd be cooking. So.
I actually would be.
Obviously.
It's funny. Jeremy and I actually
It's
have
the
a pretty
fir-
nice cooking dynamic. I'm the bitch in the relationship. Jeremy
I cook the meat.
Jeremy cooks the meat. I cook the greens.
How those veggies coming, bitch?
Well, let me say this too. I brought my espresso machine. I like to bring a little class.
Ooh, we
You
love
do.
espresso.
And so every morning I've got a Breville machine.
Oh, shit.
Every morning I make
You just see my
espressos
dad
for
using
everyone.
like
this
it.
fucking espresso machine. He's just like, "What the hell does this do?" I was like, "You have to grind it first." He's like, "What do you mean it's not ground already?"
Well-
Like, no. You gotta press the button, it'll
That's so
grind, and then you move it over here.
It's an intriguing question though about like females in camp. I just
It's just not common, is what it is.
I don't know any chicks that hunt like I hunt.
My wife's the only
Yeah.
one who hunts, and you know,
You'd be the closest.
Mhm.
I don't know any that hunt like I hunt.
Yeah. I don't know many around here. I think in general, I know some like as
It's
a
few
whole.
and far between, though.
But yeah, like in our hunting camp, I've got a great friend named Marta, and she is kind of like a down for anything kind of girl.
Yeah.
She's not a hunter per se, but she killed her first deer with us
Well, she's a hunter. She won't go out
by herself.
by
3
herself,
miles deep
winging
in the
it.
dark.
I think
And
that's
you
actually
will,
that
right?
Yeah. Oh,
You're like
literally-
you're gung ho.
literally like yesterday,
I'm
Nick and
sleeping
I.
in.
Nick and I were hunting
You
in the
know,
morning, and
Dude, it's kind of. I'm sorry, Allie. It's kind of like. Think about like your Indian tribe. Like it's kind of like you have to prove yourself to be a part of the camp.
yeah, for sure.
In a sense.
And you feel secure doing all that.
Sure.
Like just
my
going out by
God.
yourself,
Honestly, sometimes I prefer it, and I don't like to say that
carrying the sandbag. I get it.
Well, no, I know he feels the same way too. It's just like sometimes.
yeah. You just want to be by
Archery
yourself.
It's
season,
so much
we
better.
almost never hunt next to
Yeah.
each other.
Because I've
Almost.
seen a couple of your
Because-
hunts, like in the snow. That one hunt you just did maybe last year in the snow.
During,
like Nick
like,
was
the rut?
filming you and sat.
I was tagged out, so I was
Yep.
Yeah.
like, can I come?
So he'd
asking
come.
permission, because generally she wants to go by herself.
I love hunting by myself so much.
I mean, it's what it's meant to be, right?
I do love hunting with Nick as well because we've had a lot of
That's
great
nice
times.
of you to say.
We've had a lot of great times that it's really, really fucking fun. But then there's some times that I
Yeah.
crave being, and I know you do too. I just crave being
Well, there's-
outside alone.
There's a weird
just, like,
feeling of
feeling it.
enjoyment with someone. Like, Jared and I are kind of the first, like, if I kill a big buck, right, he's getting one of the first calls.
Yes.
Think about if you don't have anybody to call. Like,
Yeah.
it really just sucks the kind of, I mean, it's not that you don't enjoy it, but it's like,
Yeah, you're right.
I want to
You're
share
right.
this with someone. I want to enjoy this with
100%.
someone. But as a, when we talked about like our camera guys coming to North
Doesn't mean
Dakota,
it doesn't mean you want the person in the tree with you.
I do not
necessarily.
want a cameraman with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I do not want a cameraman.
But
with
you want to
me.
be able to come back to camp.
Yes. And then just
Yes.
enjoy it and be with people and
Yes.
celebrate it and
Yeah.
celebrate the animal.
There is no good reason, Allie, that we don't have girls in our camp, other than
We just don't know any.
I don't know any.
Yeah.
It's funny enough, dude. Have we had any other girls on this podcast besides Allie?
Rural First Girls,
Yep, the lenders,
the lenders.
not hunters.
Mm.
I think Allie.
Kaylin.
She's not been on yet.
Moss?
Caitlin Moss has not been on yet.
Oh, okay.
Crispy doesn't.
She
respond
would.
in Texas.
She would, if Chris responded to Jared's texts.
Hit him up. Give him a call.
I do.
Wait,
I do.
wait.
He doesn't text me back.
Just hit her up.
I don't know her.
Caitlin's one, and again,
She'd be great.
no disrespect
She's
to
welcome.
Caitlin.
Because I feel
She's
like
welcome.
she is of a similar vibe of like,
She
Yes.
seems tough.
I was
She
gonna say
wants- she
Caitlin
wants
was
to
one
hunt
where
by
I was
herself.
like, wait a minute. I was like,
I'll
is
say
she
something.
really gonna is she really going
She
at
seems
it
tough,
as hard
dude.
as she does?
I'll say
Seems
something.
like
I'll
it.
say something controversial. I think.
This is rare for Jared.
I think men and women are built different.
They are.
that's so controversial.
You don't have boobs.
I'm not done yet.
That's 100%.
I'm not done yet.
Or does he?
I think
Actually, he might have bigger boobs than me.
Yeah,
I just think that there's something in our DNA as men
sure.
that, like, for over the course of history, we have been the hunters, right? And like there has been a very few, a vast minority of women that like assumed that role as well.
For sure.
It's not taking away from anything. Like I think it's super awesome that like you have that.
it's called the lioness.
It's
does the
super
hunting.
rare. That passion that you have for hunting is like,
Yeah, it's not
even
common.
for Jeremy and I, we're 5% of bow hunting men.
Yeah.
For in this whitetail world. I don't know. I'm just making up a stat. You would be one in a million.
Yeah.
In terms of like, passion that you have amongst women.
Yep.
It's just like, it just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, more than anything, that's the reason we don't have women on our campus. It's obviously not like a,
It's not that we don't want it.
a
It's just
choice
we
or a
don't know.
preference.
Yeah, we don't encounter them on a daily basis.
well, look at the number. Just look at the number of like on our podcast. There has not been a hunting woman on our podcast. Obviously, not by choice. Like what we want.
It's just a
anybody and
natural
everybody
thing.
I
that
would
we can
assume. I would
Yeah.
assume if my wife and I decided not to have children, right? She probably would be in like our hunting camp and doing that thing more. It's
Yeah.
just once she found other things that she likes to do, and that's where she
Well,
spends
and
a lot of her
that's
time.
part of it, dude.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I
It
think
makes perfect sense.
I think that we are more wired towards intense focus, like extreme pursuit, and we're objectively oriented or based, whereas women are far more in general are far more oriented on relationships and like a more broader,
motherly thing,
motherhood, and a broader scope of like abilities, tasks, hobbies, like whatever you want.
Yeah,
there's a difference there for you.
Well,
you know
and I
what
think
you know
I
what I'm saying?
I have so many girlfriends that like, well, obviously don't hunt.
Sure.
Some of them think it's really cool, and
Other ones just don't get it.
but yeah, still just like totally don't.
Well, I
get
think
it.
even what you guys have is frankly pretty rare because as like married couples, like a lot of times, you know, you enjoy spending time together. You also enjoy space, right?
Yeah.
And it's because you have your thing, I have my thing, right? Like normal people outside the hunting community. Oh, guy golfs, woman shops, or whatever,
Dude,
right?
listen.
It's a weird thing, but
it's a real thing.
But
It's
you
just
just
like,
you just need some space. You have your own thing to do. You have your own friends to do it. So when you have something that's super passionate like hunting, that it's like this is what I want to do. When it's kind of both of your things, it's also probably a challenge to you all.
yeah, there are times
Working together sometimes is, but not hunting.
I would
in
say
general.
I know working together.
Not
I've done
hunting
that
in general.
before.
Hunting in general is a cool shared passion.
Yeah.
Working while we hunt together.
Yeah, that's
sometimes it's tough. Like we hunted 4 days turkey. Past 4 days. 3 days were great. 1 day was a little tough.
The one morning, it
Little
was
tough.
like we just could not agree. I heard the gobble this way. He was like, "No, I think I hear the gobble this way."
classic.
Let me
I was
tell-
like,
let me
I
tell
think
you
we should
something
walk
about
around
marriage.
this way. He was like, we should walk around this way.
It was that way.
yeah.
But we just
it
like
was that way.
normally we hunt together really, really well, like a true partnership.
Sure.
Where he's like, "This is what I think." I'm like, "This is what I think." We talk about it, and then we move forward. And then this day, it was just
Well,
like,
when you bring in the business aspect of
It was
it,
just like
it's a whole different ball game.
well,
Yeah.
that's a weird.
We
That's a
take on
weird
different
thing
roles and
too.
different responsibilities, and we
Yeah, because Nick, I mean, transparently, you're kind of the guy behind the scenes, right?
Oh,
I
definitely,
mean,
and I like it that way.
When we talk about
He is the
Allie's
guy behind the
content
scenes.
and what you guys see and stuff, like transparently, for a lot of these people listening, they have never even heard of you, Nick.
And he's the man taking all the photos, doing all the videos.
I like it like that.
Yeah.
I don't need attention. I'm happy.
Yep.
I'm good.
You attention hog.
No,
Oh,
he does.
no.
Well,
he
it's not-
does really well.
It's not hard for me to do. Like,
Sure.
I'm totally cool with coming on a podcast, being in a YouTube video every once in a while, but
I think people
dude,
ask that
I get it.
question
I
though
don't
because
love
they're
it.
like, well, you know, because they do see Allie, but of course, like seeing you do this stuff, they're like, well, who's
Yeah.
filming? Like, who's doing?
I
this
mean, I
stuff?
self-film a lot of things too. Like,
Yeah.
don't get it twisted.
That
I
sucks
do
as well. Like,
I
I
do.
mean,
I enjoy
it's
self-filming,
self-satisfying, but it's a pain in the ass.
it's not for me. If I don't get a kill on video, that doesn't like kill the video.
Mhm.
So I don't put myself like I don't put that kind of pressure on myself. For me, it's like as long as I'm capturing what I'm genuinely happy about and excited about going into the hunt, if the hunt leads to a kill, that's fucking awesome. And it's great. And that adds to the video. But if I don't get it on film, that's like no
Yeah.
sweat
Wow.
off my back with the way that we have it operating via YouTube. And
Well,
when Nick's there to
which
film,
you set that bar,
it adds to
which
it
I
great.
think has helped because I mean, think
I
of it.
set the expectation.
Well, but and I say that in
To
a
a-
good way,
to
right?
a
Think of
point.
the pressure. Jared and I talked about this when we started Hunter because we were thinking about making films, right? And then the first
Well,
failure,
you find other ways, dude.
we
like
failed in Oklahoma or in North Dakota really quickly. South Dakota first, then North Dakota, and it was like, well, shit, dude, we just spent 10 days. We didn't kill anything. Like, what the hell kind of film do we have here?
But you like to me, it has to be like,
But
you
said
do.
it that way.
Yeah.
yes, it was intentional.
It has to be that you
And I
do.
think people have gotten used to that. Where in some of these cases, like if Midwest Whitetail goes out and spends 4 hours, like I'm watching their stuff and they don't kill, I'm like, what the hell, guys? Like, what am I watching here?
Well, you find other ways. Like your business at this point, I would say is, and tell me if I'm wrong. It's like the foundation at this point is cooking.
I think it might be.
It's pivoted,
Right?
I think.
Yeah, I think it really is this like catch, clean, cook, hunt, butcher,
Yeah.
cook
Which is
vibe.
huge
And
right now.
if I kill one deer in a year, I've got
Yep.
Yeah, a lot
cooking
of
content.
A ton of content.
Yeah.
for months.
And so, like, guess what? You know what I mean? Now, all of a sudden, like, the pressure is off. You're free to hunt again. You know, freely. Like, yeah, if you get something on film, great. But your business is not going to suffer
Yeah.
if you don't kill the thing on film.
Yeah.
You know, same with us. You know, we sit at this table for 2 hours every week.
Yeah.
You know, maybe more. This
Yeah,
is our,
3
you know,
today.
this is,
Nice.
Ooh, I have something that I want to bring up.
go.
That's
Go
like,
ahead.
this is like real close to home from what Nick and I have like just been going through and just talking about. So we've been hunting turkey in Pennsylvania for the last 4 or 5 days unsuccessfully. God, we had this, actually we've had a couple different toms with hens.
Very close.
That
I was
just,
just saying, I've heard some of them
They
on like
will not
Instagram or
come
whatever.
in.
Yeah, just henned up.
they will not come in. And we have like been hanging on, waiting for them to peel away. They won't come in. Try to find different birds. They won't come in. They're with hens. It's like, that's been the story. 2 nights ago, I went out to roost birds by myself, found some jakes. This was before they they got up in the tree.
I'm shooting, Jay.
I found I found 3 jakes. I was pumped. Went back home, told Nick. He ended up finding a tom. So we agreed. We're like, all right, we'll hunt the tom first.
Yeah. And
If
then
he
move.
doesn't pan out, we'll go for the jakes. So we go for the tom in the morning. We got so close, so frustrating, but so exciting all at the same time. Gobble, gobble, gobbles all morning. Just would not come in. He was with a hen. End of story. By like maybe 8:30, we call it, done with this tom. I'm going to go hunt the jakes. So I go out. I try and like, there was a guy in my spot that I wanted to park. Public land, not his fault, is what it is. I go to
Respectfully, you
very
divert.
respectfully, yes, divert, go to a different spot where I thought I could still access where they might be from where they roosted, and could not find them. It was just like not a great way to access them. And that was kind of like the end of it. But going into that, I had spent a lot of time going back and forth of like, should I shoot this jake? Should I not shoot this jake? What's right? What's wrong? And thinking like, so I think that I connect with a lot of people who are just getting into hunting. And for me to paint a picture of like, it's not okay to shoot a jake made me feel really crappy. I want people to know that it's okay to shoot jakes, and like, you should be really pumped if you do. I don't want to push that narrative of like, if you shoot a jake, you should be upset with it. But at the same time, I was thinking like, but I'm like a little matured in this game. I've been doing this for 10 years. If I shoot a jake, are people who are also advanced in this industry going to look at me as like,
I hate that thinking.
as like,
Yeah.
this
Well,
is lesser
it's
than.
interesting that you hate that thinking, because it's very like, we hate when people want to shoot 2-year-old deer,
I know.
but
It's the big buck, small buck thing. It's the same conversation.
but I don't think there's nearly as much emphasis, even by, whatever, fully mature, what's the word?
a tom, like a full
No,
mature
no,
turkey.
a hunter who is like
It's evolved.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
a fully evolved turkey hunter who appreciates all aspects.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. That they value, a 5-year-old, however old they get, 4-year-old turkey over
Yeah, you're wrong.
a 3-year-old turkey.
For sure.
They don't
Okay.
care.
No, they do.
You think so?
I know they care a little bit.
Definitely.
I mean, I wouldn't know the difference. I
But
mean, spurs once
but
I kill them,
but it
right? But I
definitely
wouldn't
is not to
know
the level
difference between a 2-year-old
as
and
a
a
deer,
5-year-old.
right?
Not to that level, but we do have quite a few friends who are avid turkey hunters who are no jakes.
Oh, they
Yeah,
will
no
absolutely
jake.
not shoot a
Well,
jake.
all of
Well,
my
and
all
I'm
of my
not
southern
saying so. There's
friends are no
it's
jakes.
black and white. There's jakes and there's toms. I get that.
You're talking about in terms of 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old toms.
Yep.
Because I mean, at 2 years old, we consider that bird an adult,
Yes.
and most people would shoot that. I would assume.
7
I would
to
say
9 inch beard,
like a
yeah.
2-year-old tom is like the equivalent of like a 4-year-old
3 or
deer.
4,
to
3,
Yes.
probably
3 or 4-year-old
3-year-old,
deer.
3-year-old.
It's hard to compare, but it's the same frame of mind.
It is the same frame of mind.
Yes.
And
Is it though to the level where they're like, I mean, because dude, all Jeremy and I talk about is like, the difference between a 4 and a 5-year-old. We're like, oh,
It's huge.
Like we study it. Like
I
the
think
difference.
the difference between a Jake and a Tom is like
Yes,
that.
but beyond that,
Beyond that, no. Beyond that, a Tom is a Tom and a Jake is a Jake.
I would say,
You
in
disagree,
my
Nick.
opinion, it is.
Well, I think deer hunters are more passionate about it and more vocal about it, and they'll get on you a little more.
I don't think it has as much to do with passion. Maybe it does secondarily, but primarily, there's a massive difference between a 2-year-old buck and a 5-year-old. Massive difference. Even
No
a
doubt.
3-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, these are turkey and deer. We're talking two.
Two
Well, yeah,
completely
that's what I'm
different
getting into.
species.
Yeah, but it's the same frame of mind. It's,
Yeah, it is.
It's the you shoot a basket rack 6 on opening day in PA.
Yep.
That's a Jake.
People are bitching.
Some.
Kinda.
Some.
Yeah, no,
Kinda.
for sure.
Kinda.
But
And some
people aren't bitching if you shoot a 2-year-old turkey, though.
Sometimes.
No,
Are
no,
they?
no, no.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
No.
A Jake, yes. No, not a 2-year-old.
Not a
Tom.
2-year-old
Right.
Tom.
No,
They
Nick,
don't care.
you're on the
Yeah.
same page that like a Tom is a Tom.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
It doesn't
That's
matter
what I'm
how
trying to
big
get.
the Tom is a Tom is a Tom,
But the deer
and a Jake is a Jake.
segmentation is so
Well, I
detailed.
can
across.
understand if I was an avid turkey hunter, I would. I don't know. It's hard to say because it's like I am a deer hunter, so like I feel this way about deer, and I'm thinking that I would apply this to turkey hunting. I would want to believe that I would be like, 2-year-old birds is like, but I don't know why.
I mean,
Right?
Because it's not like they necessarily develop more. I guess
Yeah.
they get longer spurs, but like, who
I
cares?
mean,
Longer spurs, longer beard, bigger fan. A Jake's fan is not fully developed
Correct.
compared
Yeah,
to
you
a
can
Tom.
tell.
I'm beyond the Jake though. I get the Jake Tom.
you're
Oh,
talking,
you're talking even
2,
beyond.
3.
I-
I'm talking.
I don't think people do that.
I'm talking a 2 to 5-year-old Tom.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's-
okay, I
that
don't
would be
think
hard to
people
measure.
do
I mean, I
but-
think
That'd be really
it.
hard
I
to
think it
measure.
really comes back a lot to like where you are personally. Like for me, for instance, and it's a weird thing where I'm at. Like I've killed a lot of mature bucks. I've killed a lot of toms. Like sometimes I just don't want the season to end.
Dude,
which is
I've
such a
killed a
weird
lot
thing.
of Toms over the. I've probably killed 6, 7 Toms
Yeah.
over the last 6 years, maybe even 5 years, like multiple a year. And these Toms have been giving us such a run for
Yeah.
our money, end up that when I found these Jakes,
You
I
were
was
just
like,
I'm gonna slam them.
I was like super
Yeah.
excited.
To both of your points,
I just couldn't
when
find
it comes
them.
to deer hunting, I am that way. I feel like, man, I don't want it.
I
to
just
end.
don't want my season to end.
When it comes to turkey hunting,
I don't care.
I want it to end.
yeah, I don't really care as much.
That's how I felt.
I want to shoot the
Yeah, I
first
don't
legal
really-
thing. I'm ready for this to be
I'm
done.
trout fishing or crappie fishing. Like it's already out in my brain.
I
somewhere.
love turkey hunting, but I hate it.
Yeah.
I like.
Oh, it's fun, dude.
It's fun.
It's an
I've had a
interesting
blast
thing.
turkey hunting, but I've also, it's just so frustrating. Not in a sense that I don't get frustrated that way, like with deer. Like when it's because it's like I did something wrong. It's like it didn't work out.
I think
When it comes to turkey, I just don't think that they have the intelligence that I can like warrant being.
I think it's the difference
Some
between
of
like
them do.
in deer
Well,
hunting.
maybe we're just unlucky. But.
In deer hunting,
I'm definitely unlucky.
I'm a very one-on-one. Like I have a deer that I am hunting, and it's me versus
Yeah,
him.
that element doesn't necessarily.
And I
exist.
mean, you can apply that to turkey, but it's also just I just don't have that relationship with the turkey as I do weirdly with the deer.
Listen. I do. This is going to be extremely offensive. I do think. Officially, that I can say that like turkey hunting is not as evolved. Like I don't know what the word is. Evolved, sophisticated. It's not to the level of deer hunting. It just isn't.
Not at all.
I don't.
It just isn't.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
Deer are
It's
deer and
fun.
turkey are turkey.
Well,
Yeah.
turkey hunting for me, for my entire life, like I've killed plenty of jakes before. It's just fun. Like it's
Yeah,
spring,
yeah.
it's fun, it's action. That's why when you get a kid involved,
Let me take
like
it a
the
step further.
moment it gets light, they're in the action,
Dude.
right?
They're hearing the gobbles.
They're in it.
Their
at that
body
point.
shaking.
Yeah.
Well, and so to the next step of that is and I don't know. I guess it's what comes across maybe not right. I don't hunt because it's fun. I hunt.
You're psycho, dude.
I hunt.
You just want to kill them.
I hunt mature bucks because it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
No. I'm just saying turkey hunting is fun. That's what if I hunt turkeys.
I know.
It's because
I
it's
know
fun.
it.
When I go on
Yes.
the buck side, I do it because it's a challenge.
So at some
like
point,
I want to challenge
at
myself.
some point,
to
you would
harvest a
think
deer.
that people would evolve out of turkey hunting into deer hunting, but they don't. They don't
Well, a
necessarily.
lot
Let
of those
me
guys are
make
waterfowl
you-
guys.
Okay, I made.
Same principle. Duck's a duck.
I don't know.
We're all different, and that's what's cool.
I know.
Ooh,
It's a tough
I agree with
thing.
that.
Like I can't relate.
What'd you say, Allie?
I was gonna say, let me make you some pecan crusted turkey tenders because they're
Well, see, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
love
I'll
eating
eat 'em
turkey.
all.
better,
right?
like
I'll eat
they're
'em
like
all.
better than deer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I
No
mean,
doubt.
same
Yeah.
with duck too. Like you do a good
Honestly,
roast duck or
I
something
actually
like that.
have gotten so. I think this is because I didn't know how to cook back in the days when I was hunting duck.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be like and invite along to go duck hunting, and I would have duck. I'd butcher them, I'd cook them, and they would taste like
Not great.
Duck.
Muddy.
yeah, they
Muddy,
tasted
fishy.
horrible.
Yeah.
But now that I know how to cook, I'm like, maybe I should give that another try.
In college, like, so one of my buddies was a big duck and goose hunter, and I was not. Like, I had the deer or I had turkey. He had all the waterfowl. And, like, the only way we cooked it is we would cut it up in chunks, throw it in a pan, Italian dressing, over rice. And, like, weirdly enough, like, 20 years later, like, I'll still eat that, and I'm like, this is freaking good.
Reminiscent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because, like, it was one of the, like, I ate it 3 times a week because, like, literally we survived off of that stuff.
That's really cool.
But it's just it's those kind of things. Like, you know, it was like you had a thing of red hot Italian dressing and cut up duck and rice, and it was just like I remember eating that 3 times a week. And that, like, even now I'll still do I do my deer meat that way sometimes, and I'm like, this is great, you know. And it's just it's just kind of a weird, like,
I haven't had-
reminiscent,
dude, I haven't had
nostalgic type
duck.
thing.
Yeah.
Been a duck in like
We've got a
5
friend
years.
that'll, well, so it's a friend's dad, and he will marinate deer in Italian
Oh, yeah.
dressing.
Yeah.
Oh,
period.
yeah.
Little wishbone.
That's
oh,
it.
Yeah, that's what I was
Get
gonna say.
it.
A little whisper,
That's it.
baby.
Ziploc bag. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All he does.
Little red wine.
Throw it on the grill. It's
So, are you guys ready to come to the forest this year and
No, dude, we went last
Shoot a
year.
little-
We
We
didn't
didn't
see
see a
shit.
deer.
No, hey,
We didn't
okay.
see a deer.
I'm
Come with
asking.
us.
We can-
Are
we
you
can-
ready to come to North Dakota?
Yes, that's obvious.
or Wyoming.
But are you willing
Yeah.
to come to the forest
Yeah.
and shoot a little 7-pointer?
Yeah, I'll shoot one.
No.
If you can
I
promise
could-
that we'll
I-
see one.
I mean, I'm not going to kill a deer anywhere else in Pennsylvania. I just don't, like, I'm taking the kids out hunting, so I just don't hunt
But
Pennsylvania.
a little,
other than that.
You could actually bring your
kids,
little
too.
Little Bass Crack
I'll shoot
8-pointer and
one.
have the time of your life.
With
Would
my
your-
bow, yes.
Would your kids like to come
Okay.
for a camp experience?
I think
Or
they
do you think
would.
or do you think that you're not ready to
My
bring them
youngest
for
would.
that?
He'd come back with a bear, and I'd be like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, what are you doing?" Like,
He'd be like, yeah, I
he's like, "Yeah, I
touched
skinned
it.
this thing out here." What
Got
are you
him,
doing?
Singing the heart.
it's an interesting proposal.
Because I know you're
I love,
You're a big
first of
buck
all,
through and
we had
through.
a blast at camp with Steve and Steve's dad and the rest of us. Like, we just had fun.
I just had. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
No, it was just the, and, you know, it is what it is. It's just, you know, frankly, none of us saw deer. So, like, we would all come back to camp,
it's tough.
and, like, me in my mind, because Jared was there, my dad was there. It was like one of our first, you know, Pennsylvania camps we got. In my mind, I'm thinking my old school Pennsylvania deer camps where we all come back, we tell stories of, he saw this, where are you going to sit tomorrow? And we all came back and it was like, man, this is shit.
Yeah.
You know? And it was like, okay, well, what are you going to do tomorrow? Same thing. And I'm not opposed to that. Like, I like a challenge to that. In fact, the last day was the most fun I had because I was out on the ground scouting and I was like, I'm in them now. Like, I'm going to set up here. I'm going to do this. But it just
Do you
just
guys
too
saddle
little, too
hunt?
late.
No, f that, dude.
Would
we
you?
tried it.
Would
We
you try
have
it?
I have
Saddles.
a lot.
Didn't like
You
it.
want to buy one?
I've got an
I
Eberhard tethered.
We have a
love-
few.
If you have tethered saddles, I'll buy them all up. I
just-
love
I
saddle
can't.
hunting.
It's just the opposite of what I do.
Here, wait. Before we get into saddles, I want.
You don't have to do it. That
No,
way.
you don't have
Just
to.
the
I was just
experience
that's just how I
of-
like
The
it.
experience of there are guys at camp and girls at camp.
Oh yeah, I
Two
want
and a
that.
half-
I'm
two
all
and a
that.
half miles
Yeah, yeah,
away.
yeah.
And
No,
you're
I'm
walking.
in.
You're walking
I'm
out
in.
the back door. There's a little 6-pointer that walks by.
If you want me to shoot him to
Let-
have
let me-
celebration,
Is the
absolutely.
experience worth it, or is he not?
Let me
is he not big
respond. Yeah, let me respond to that. I think
I'll shoot him.
Jeremy will shoot him, dude. Honestly, the way I feel about it is like I don't like killing stuff. Like
Enough? I hear you.
I get, you know, like. Did you say you cried earlier? You know, earlier when you
I
killed?
cry. Oh,
Yeah, almost every time when I kill a deer, like dude,
I
it's
really do.
it brings a tear to my eye. Like
Yeah, it's
I
rough.
really don't like killing stuff. More and more, I know, dude. Back in the day, and I know you've experienced this too. Like I would have pulled up like a rabbit, a possum across the road. other day I was turkey hunting this raccoon. I could have easily smashed.
Oh, I mean, I
would
beat numerous muskrats and raccoons with a baseball bat during traps.
I've been there.
I mean, just
I've been there.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, there
Shoot 'em
was
in city. No,
yeah,
beat them with baseball.
No doubt. I'm familiar with killing. Okay,
Mhm.
I don't.
It's a different thing now.
I don't like it.
It's called maturity, Jared.
Yeah, I know. I know. Comes
Especially
with
when they suffer.
Comes with the hairline, especially when they suffer. That's the worst. You know. Yeah, you got that.
That was
You
fun.
like that one.
I just
Thank
there's just something about killing that I just have a lot of respect for animal for life, and so for me to kill something that is like less than is like the ultimate that I can achieve, which for me at this point is like a mature whitetail buck. I would struggle with it.
I'm just wondering if your standards would change if you were in our place.
See,
know what I
for
mean?
me, it wouldn't be as much standards as as I said, approaching 40. I miss my traditions, and it's mainly probably because I have kids and I knew how I grew up. Like, I remember celebrating those kind of deer.
There's nothing like it.
Nothing like
It's
it.
the
And
best
so, like,
weekend
if
you'll
you
ever
put
have.
me in a camp and it was like, hey, if we shoot this buck and we're all gonna like celebrate this thing and like enjoy it, no doubt in my mind.
It's the best
And it's
weekend you'll
it's
ever
not
have.
because like, it's not. I always want to go out and shoot a mature deer. Like, that's just my mindset. But to shoot a deer like that and to enjoy it in camp with a bunch of people, that's a whole different goal and experience of mine.
See, in that same sense, I would prefer to be somebody that's celebrating somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
actually agree with you.
Yeah, I get that.
Because that I don't want to kill that animal. I just
That's-
don't.
I agree with you.
This is so
But I have no
cool
problem celebrating it.
because I'm such the opposite.
I guess that's what I was trying to get out of you.
Where
That statement right there. No problem celebrating it. That's cool.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. I mean, dude, if somebody's happy with that,
Jacked up.
I'm happy for them.
Pumped.
Yeah.
2 mile drag,
Absolutely.
you're sweating. You can't wait to have that
Absolutely.
Well,
bush
we
light.
did it. We did it in Kansas this past year. Our goal, obviously in Kansas is we want to shoot the biggest buck that we can. Right? It's Kansas, right? This past year, on the first evening, I shot not a big buck. I mean, 120-inch deer, which in Kansas was not a big buck, but it was a
so-
very, very old deer, and it was unique, and the experience was cool, and it like to me it was like I've killed a lot bigger deer in Kansas. But it also was like, okay, now I get to kind of take care of camp, and like I've tagged, like we killed a buck,
and
in
it was a
camp and stuff.
mature buck. It was.
Yeah, it was. It was what I
you
really
achieved your goal.
Yes, I sought out to kill a mature buck. If if it was just me, or let's say it was just Jared and I probably would have waited and tried to kill a bigger antlered deer.
Sure.
But because our dads were in camp, and it was just, it was a cool thing. It was like, all right, we punched tag. Like we're in it. Let's go. Like it was fun. Like,
that's cool that both of your dads were in camp.
oh,
It
we
was
had
awesome.
we had a blast.
That's really cool.
We had a blast.
They stuck 3 between the two of them.
Yikes.
And none that we
Dude, I
got.
tracked so
Yikes.
much blood trail. Not my own either. Like it was
We're
just.
working on them.
I thought we
That's
were
how
gonna.
it goes, though.
I thought we were gonna
that's
buy them
really
both
fucking
crossbows
cool.
for Christmas,
That's
just to
how
be
it
like,
goes,
hey,
yeah.
listen, we're at this point, guys. Like,
That's good.
It's done. But it was. I mean, it was. It sucked that it ended up that way, but it was fun in that for 7 days, like we're in this camp together. There was a buck it was cool. So there was a buck hanging out there for 4 days. We're driving people,
Dry
dropping
aging.
off.
Yeah.
Driving agent, like.
Little sirloin tip
Yeah.
roast.
Oh,
So-
ooh, yes.
So I mean, I get but I guess Nick, to your point, like in a Pennsylvania camp, like my tradition again was like, we killed whatever was legal. I remember multiple years, and that's how I learned to pass deer. Is I killed multiple deer. I remember clearly I killed this probably 1-year-old 7-point. I think it was my second or third buck. Just smoked this 1-year-old 7-point, runs down, dies. Immediately after this, like really stud 8-point comes up, and at like 10 yards is like standing under my tree looking the other way. And I'm looking at my deer dead, belly up. And it was like, oh shit, like this is why like you pass deers to wait for something like this. That said, like I had 10 guys immediately come up and like help me drag it out and stuff. And so it's just, if it was not a camp atmosphere, I think my standards would be like, no, I'm just gonna kill a mature deer. But if it's like to not saying like we were just doing that, but like a Steve camp-esque or a camp with you guys, and it was like, hey, we're gonna have like a deer camp and do Pennsylvania tradition. Yeah, I mean, I'll kill a legal buck.
It's like
just
the
to
first
enjoy
person
that.
that kills
That's
a
the way we
deer
feel.
is like
that's the way we
so celebrated.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a very celebrated kind of thing where anybody that gets
Yeah.
a deer that we can drag back to camp is like,
Now, if I only had one tag, let's say I didn't own my farms in Ohio and Kentucky, different ball game, I think, because then it's like I've got one tag, one animal to focus on all season. But because I've got other places to hunt, that would be, I think to your point, Nick, there's kind of different. I personally have different goals in different states. Like in Ohio, I want to kill a big mature buck, right? In Pennsylvania, I rarely hunt anymore. For me, it's like I just want the kids to have fun and enjoy it and be able to kill something. And like that's, I mean,
and if they
shoot,
get to watch you
Holy-
shoot something too.
none of them. I mean, they ask me all the time. They're like, "Well, why don't we hunt with you?" And I'm like, you guys hunt and stuff.
It'd
But
probably be really cool for them to see you do something.
I mean, I'm pretty unsuccessful. But
Honestly, I've also thought, like, I kind of thought about that too whenever I was in
Yeah.
this little conundrum of like, should I shoot a Jake? Should I not shoot a Jake? Part of it was like, I want to speak to people who
sure.
have never hunted before or
Yeah.
who are just getting into this. And if I'm here acting like shooting,
It's my biggest fear with my
like,
kids.
I want people
Because-
to know that like
My kids
this is so
hear
much
me
fucking
talk
fun.
about hunting with him and passing deer. And I remember I think it was my youngest. So Harlan is now 7, but my oldest was not ready to hunt till he was 8, right? My youngest at 5 killed his first doe with a crossbow and was like dead eye, right? At 6, we had this button buck come down, right? Comes down right in front of the blind. And he's like, what is it? I was like, hey, it's a button buck. He's like, I'm not going to shoot it. And I'm like, what? Because, I mean, dude, when I was 12, brown down, like not even a thought about it. And I was like, well, why not? He's like, it's just a fawn. And immediately I was kind of like, fuck.
Damn.
Like, did I mess this kid up? And I don't think I did, right? Because I understood what he was saying and stuff. It's just he hears me and how passionate I am about hunting and management and stuff. And he enjoys watching them too, right? And this year, he was 6. And, here comes like 2 button bucks down this old logging road to us. And I was like, hey, and then behind it, I could see like this racked like 4-point, right? And I said, hey, buck. And he's scoping. He's like, they're button bucks. I was like, no. There's like a buck behind it. And he's like, oh, okay, I see it, And like, it's a cool feeling. But when he, to me, I remember killing a button buck and being like, my chest was puffed out. I was proud. Like my cousins and I are dragging that thing. And so for him to say like, it's a button buck, I don't want to shoot it. There's a question in me, and we talk about this all the time, and I'm not at the level where my kid's shooting booners, right? Because there are kids that are 7, 8, 9 years old shooting booners out there. But I wonder of like, I don't want to make it so easy that he just like is like, I don't have to shoot that. But I also want to make it easy enough because it's not like when we grew up where it was like, there's a lot of distractions right now out there in the world to where like my oldest, he's told me numerous times, he's like, Dad, I love fishing. I just don't like hunting as much. He's killed bucks. He's killed turkeys. He just, if I ask him, I'm like, hey, you want to go out? And he says, no, I'm not going to force him to do it. Yeah. But I just don't want to screw them up to the point where they're like, well, that's a 1-year-old and I know you don't shoot 1-year-olds. And it's like, so I have to watch my language around them in some of those cases.
So the same couple that we were
Well,
talking
not
about.
my curse word. It's not like they just let them roll there.
It's an effing 1-year-old.
I love that.
What do you mean you're not going to shoot
He's like,
it?
Dad, it's a fucking button. So the same couple that we were hunting with, whose dad shot a buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Zach's wife, who is an absolute angel. She's incredible. I felt like she was conditioned to only want a large deer or nothing. And I remember just thinking like, we could be having so much
How
fun.
foreign is that as well?
It was foreign for me, at least, because I just remember being like, we could be having so much fun. Like, why don't you want to hunt these deer? And
Passing up every forky you see.
she was
With
just
a bow, like you're gonna get it
she was
anyway.
just so conditioned to, if I don't shoot a big deer, I'm not going to be respected. I'm not going, like, it's not going to be well
and
received.
that's a super scary thought in today's society.
I
would not put, to your point earlier of like protecting the 3-year-olds, like if somebody shoots a 2 or 3-year-old and they're like ecstatic, I can celebrate it. I'm super excited about that. I met a guy on public next to my Ohio farm. He killed a 2-year-old 8-point. I'd seen a ton, and it was like his first buck with a bow. I was excited as he was, right? What I get scared of, and I've met numerous people now who are passing deer, and frankly, they've never killed a deer, or they've never killed a deer with a bow. And I'm like, well, why are you passing those deer? And they're like, well, I just want something bigger or better. And it's like, you got to start somewhere, like especially with like the archery passion and
I feel like it's
intimacy.
an earned thing.
Yeah,
in a weird way. It's like, it's a thing, like you have to kind of like go through the ranks to earn.
Dude, I've
that.
killed at least 15 button bucks in my life, like easily 15. I mean, I have smoked a ton of fawns. I've knocked the milk off the lip, right? And it's just because like, when I was younger, like hunting and harvesting and hunting and like it was just one and the same. Like from the moment deer season opened to the moment flintlock closed, I was in the woods. As long as I had a tag, I was going at it. And eventually it was like, okay, I'm not going to shoot these deer because I want this deer. And eventually it was this deer. And it's not that I wouldn't shoot, like in Pennsylvania, if I had a 150-inch 3-year-old come by me, smoked. Dead, right? In Ohio, I'd probably pass it. But it's just two different mindsets.
Very nuanced, yeah.
Two different mindsets about it.
The generational thing is interesting because I look at my uncle was probably one of the biggest influences that I had, in terms of like bow hunting and the age class that we were looking at. He's from Pennsylvania as well. And like, I don't know. I mean, he's still, to this day is like,
mom's side or dad's side?
Dad's.
My dad's brother. To this day, and I should say, so that was a spotlighting thing. Like, I grew up like spotlighting with him, and like, I just, for what I understood, that there was like, he had some standard of deer that he was trying to hunt. I think his was more based on antler size than it was age. That's not really in like the Pennsylvania blood. I mean, that came from like the Midwest.
No,
Yeah, we didn't. I mean, shit, dude.
Yeah, it was just big antlers.
You saw a 2-year-old 8-point, and you're like, that's
well,
big bug.
Back in the day, dude, he killed. So he's up north, straight north of here, like
he's Meadville.
2 hours, Meadville at Guy's Mills. He killed it was like a mid-60s 3-year-old, and it was like the talk of the town for like the year. He was like the man. It was a big deal. He might have been in a newspaper or something. And it's interesting because like, regardless of what we do that deer today, that was the biggest deer like in the county. Right. And he killed it. And so, but growing up with that influence, he never once was like, well, shoot this or don't shoot this.
Mm-hmm.
I just was observing. I was like, well, what's he shooting? What, and that's what I want to try. And I know for a fact he was in the same situation, growing up through whatever. He must have been born in the 60s.
He was in the
64.
80s and 90s major hunt crowd.
He was born in 64.
Yeah.
So
late 70s,
late
into
70s,
80s,
into
90s was the epicenter.
And into the
for him.
90s, he started, he'd figured it, he got kind of figured it out, and the equipment wasn't nearly like great, but, and I was born in 93. So in the mid 2000s, I was cruising with him with a spotlight and learning from him. And so it wasn't until, his 30s probably that he was like at the point where he's like, I want to kill the biggest antler deer. I don't think that thought really exists. Maybe the herd wasn't to the quality where you could even have that thought.
I think
It's
it was
wild because you're not even there yet.
I think it was because of the competition.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, it was the landscape level, right? I mean, prior to 2001, when there were no antler restrictions, I mean, if you were archery hunting and a 4-point came by, you shot that 4-point.
Well, but this is my point. My progression to a mindset where I only want to kill mature bucks is way ahead. I mean, I've been thinking this way since I was 20.
Yeah, but
10 years in the making.
I always wonder.
The last 3-year-old that I shot, dude, I would have been like 23.
Yeah, but
And since then, and that's what I'm saying is like the progression to that is like, so if in a generational
the
sense,
origination of that a lot though was Winky and Midwest Whitetail for you,
no doubt, that was another major influence.
which is a huge thing for us here to say, is that even realistic?
Correct me if I'm wrong. You manifested that idea, right? You weren't influenced by.
No, I think he's saying that he was influenced by his uncle, right?
A little bit.
Not necessarily pressured by
No, not pressured,
people,
but influenced.
by people via Instagram.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, nobody was like, "Hey, don't shoot that deer."
Yes. So
He manifested
Yeah.
it himself
I
based
feel like
on
that-
what he observed.
Yeah.
exactly, and I feel like that is a different mind frame than being pressured to not shoot a Jake.
No doubt.
Or
Oh yeah, for
Or
me
like,
not to shoot a Jake, I
damn,
was
dude,
like,
I shot the 7
Well,
pointer
gonna
and
have
I
something
shouldn't
to say.
post it.
Well, dude,
That's different. So
the only thing that
it's good that you explain that because I feel like that,
Yeah.
that paints a whole nother picture.
yeah,
It is.
well, the only thought that I had
Because it sounds shallow at first, but when
okay.
you say it that way, it makes
It
total
does.
sense.
We get criticized for that a lot in terms of the thought process of like
And I get it, and I
Not
know you guys
shaming.
aren't that way, but
not shaming necessarily, but we've manifested.
we're up into criticism too.
Yeah. Well, we've manifested, and it all comes from position, right? I mean, I've killed, not being cocky about it, but I've killed a lot of mature deer. I've killed booners before with my bow. Like, it's not that I wouldn't celebrate, killing a 1-year-old 6-point in the mountain, because I mean, it's a different challenge, especially with a bow, right? Or a recurve. Like, I mean, dude, I would smoke the first legal buck I saw with a recurve because of the conditional challenge that comes with it.
yeah.
That's not saying that the dude with a 30-06 or a 308 shooting that I would put him down. If he's happy with that deer, that is great. I think and it's more of a question than it is a criticism of, let's say, and my grandpap was one of these. My grandpap killed so many 3 points in his life, and it was funny because we used to just jag him around for it all the time. He just would somehow just constantly kill 3 points, right?
funny.
Even when the antler restriction was in place.
Yikes.
Yeah. And so at some point it was like, well, Pap, like, when do you evolve to want to kill something better than that? And to him, it just was, maybe it was, he liked hunting, but it wasn't just like the only thing in life. So he's like, I killed a buck. Like, I'm happy with that. And that was his generation. And again, if I go back into the 40s and 50s, I mean, he couldn't see a deer track.
And that's okay. I mean, I think both you and I, as mature buck hunters, like, that's our goal.
Absolutely.
There has to be room for that mindset.
yeah,
There is.
But also the mindset around like wanting to evolve as far as you can as a hunter. That's a two-way street in terms of like, well, I want to hold myself to a standard of like, I'm only going to hunt mature bucks with a recurve bow or whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, that is the like extreme of extremes, right?
As strongly as I feel about that, I also feel as strongly that like there shouldn't be any negative pressure based on whatever.
It's the downfall of society right now.
It's
E-
like
and social
it's like
media and everything.
unwritten.
It carries over.
It's
yeah.
terrible.
Yeah,
Appreciating
it's
other
like
people's
unwritten-
circumstances is
For
Yeah.
a
It
good
needs to be.
5-year period, I worried about the deer that I killed and what the industry would think because of my position.
I'm
in the
trying to
industry.
seriously consider the first
I
time
felt
that
that
I
way
felt
about
that.
shooting a Jake just
get
like
it.
2 days ago.
I get it. I mean, there was a good 5 years that it was like, if I killed something that I didn't consider a trophy, right? My position in the industry would be scrutinized for it. Maybe
Yeah.
not to my face, but at least the paranoia of the scrutiny would be there.
You know, what?
So I passed a lot of 2-year-olds. I passed a lot of 3-year-olds. Passed 3-year-olds in Pennsylvania that normally I would not pass simply because it was like, shit, I deal with a lot of Midwest companies. I killed a 3-year-old. Like, and it's a weird feeling to do that. And I'm not saying anybody ever even came out personally to say, well, dude, don't shoot that 3-year-old because you know what's going to happen. It's just internally in my head.
yeah.
Right. to me, this is the big. That's why I brought up the Midwest Whitetail thing. Is that look at our social feeds, right? Especially during October, November, full of like Iowa, Illinois,
Giants.
Kansas, Indiana,
Brr.
giants. I mean, and I'm daydreaming, right? Reality is that ain't me.
Yeah.
It won't be me until I'm over there. And even when I'm over there, I've got 5 days to get it done. We talk about it all the time, and it's not a knock to the Iowa people, but if I lived in Iowa, guess what? I'd be killing booners too.
Oh,
It's just how it
Yeah.
just how it is. And it's also because I think if you've honed your skills in this area, you can go to Iowa and kill booners.
Oh.
Not down my mind.
It's an interesting.
oh.
We talk about this a lot.
I have no problem saying
It's
it.
an
whatsoever.
interesting
Give me an Iowa
progression,
point.
dude. I'm just trying
Right?
to.
I mean, think about how
I
hard you
feel
guys
that way
hunt in the
about
mountains.
Florida sportsmen.
I would agree.
Dude, those guys can take their skills just about anywhere, and they will figure it out.
They'll
We've
figure
got
it
a
out.
friend.
Yes, it's wild.
His
And
name's,
do they?
Oh
They
yeah,
do.
his
They
name's
do.
Ryan.
I mean,
Nitz.
that's
Very
the
consistently.
that's
Yeah.
the decision right there. It's
Yeah.
like, dude. So when I
It's
see that,
not it's not a call out on it. It's not a diss to them. I'm just
No, not
saying
at all.
there's a reason. Like when people are like, well, I wouldn't go and hunt. Well, yeah, dude. Why the hell would you leave Iowa and come hunt Pennsylvania?
Sure.
It's so funny. Actually, like I've had people say that to me of like, what do you do in this hunting season? And I'm like, be in Pennsylvania for the rut. And they're like, what are you doing in Pennsylvania
Yeah,
for
why?
the rut?
fair
and
question.
that's
That's
like
what we like.
a crazy question to me. I'm like, there's no place I'd rather be than in Pennsylvania.
I
for
had a
the
guy
rut.
one
Why?
time.
Why?
It's our tradition.
It's
It's our,
It's-
It's
our
it's
thing.
nostalgic. It's where you
It's
feel that
because
you really love that area.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, it's because of people.
It's
it's-
more of the camaraderie, right?
Yeah.
It really
Screw
is.
the deer. I mean, the size of the deer.
It's more of the
We
camaraderie.
end up
well,
figuring
dude,
it
but you
out,
killed a
but-
bear last year,
wait,
right?
but wait.
Couple.
But don't get it
Yeah,
twisted.
one in
I
5 years
love
ago, 1, 2 years
big
ago.
That's
deer.
freaking awesome.
I think big deer, like obviously, if I'm in my saddle and I've got a big deer that comes in and then a small little boy that comes in, I want to shoot the big deer.
Mhm.
Big deer are incredible and they're beautiful, and I would rather shoot a big deer. But it doesn't change how I feel when I'm hunting, especially in the circumstances that I am, which is like public land with a saddle. And it's like anything could walk by.
When did you kill that snowbuck
Huh?
out of the saddle with your bear?
November
This past year,
18th. Maybe.
my
Which
was
was
last day, I believe.
was a stud.
he was actually the smallest buck I've killed from a saddle.
But for Pennsylvania,
And
What
it was,
was he? Sorry, I'm not
Just
familiar
a-
with the deer.
solid 8
eight,
pointer.
eight.
I don't measure my deer. so
Was
I
he
don't
the
know,
biggest in
but
that group that was in the group that came through that night?
Maybe you're talking
Definitely, yeah,
about like,
definitely.
are you talking about like maybe 2 years ago?
Maybe it was 2 years ago.
Because my buck last year was like relatively small compared to the other two.
It was the classic PA 8 point.
Yep.
Last year was
Good-looking
just like
8-point.
classic 8-point. The,
The
one
two
before that,
were big.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe it was 2 years ago then.
yeah.
Because that's where they're listening to this, and I have no problem saying it. Like, I killed that deer off this mountain, and like, it wasn't the hardest hunt, but it was a run and gun setup, and I kind of anticipated where I thought I needed to be, and frankly, I didn't even know that deer was in the area at the time. But I see what some of these guys are dealing with, or the cards they're dealt, frankly, in Kansas, Iowa, Illinois. Let's just pick those 3 states, right? And if I had 90 days to hunt those deer, I'm not saying that I'm the greatest deer hunter, but I'd kill some big deer.
And that,
That's like honestly my favorite way to hunt
that's a part of why we love Pennsylvania.
is to be in an area and hunt for
The entire season.
months.
Yeah.
I
So-
don't like going somewhere and,
know where
hunting
your
for just like a
bars-
week.
You know where your bar's set in the state, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if you kill a
absolutely.
5-year-old buck where you guys are on the mountain, regardless of antler size, you kill a 5-year-old plus buck in the mountain.
Yeah, he did last year.
Stud.
Or 2 years. Was it last year? 2 years ago?
Both.
I mean, that is
Got lucky.
that
2
is
years
a
ago was like exceptional.
that's a comparable booner in Iowa, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. And
No
that's
doubt.
why we
for
love
sure.
Pennsylvania. We can come here and we can fall in love with certain spots
Mm-hmm.
over a 2-month period.
Mhm.
And we're lucky that we've structured our YouTube videos in an episodic fashion where
Mm-hmm.
people are like, oh, I saw one, didn't get it. let's tune into the next one.
Mm-hmm. You're dragging them around.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. And we only need one or none really, because it's the entire
But there are big
story
bucks
of the
and
season.
small bucks there. So it's like
Yeah.
when we get a big buck,
have you
it's
guys
like
hunted in the Midwest?
no. Honestly, I don't
not
have
really.
interest.
Not really.
You have no interest?
Why don't you come hunt with us in Ohio or Kentucky? It's easy. It's close by.
I don't have interest. I would rather be
I mean, I do.
on. He can.
I love
And
traveling.
I would
Why
be-
not? Go ahead.
I would so happily be a like invite along for something like that because I'm down for a good time. Like I love having a good time. I don't care where we're at, what we're doing. Like,
Well,
I'm
listen, it's not a good time. We're chasing the biggest bucks in the world in
Well,
the Midwest,
okay,
and it's one of
so-
the hardest things you've ever done.
Would you enjoy? So you guys have obviously seen Aaron and those guys do like the public land challenges.
Yeah.
Would you enjoy that?
So
I would.
I like personally my like dream.
You're a little OCD, aren't you?
I don't know if I would call it OCD.
Why do you say that?
Well, you hear about like the prep and the thought process and maybe even the control a little
You
bit.
think
'cause
I'm
of
I'm-
OCD?
I'm
you
very
are for sure OCD.
I'm
Yeah, for
definitely,
sure.
that.
I'm very controlling over like my voice and what's and I don't even know if that's what you're picking up on.
I was thinking more
but
of like the planning and thought process and like, you know, like, let's say that 2-month hunt in an area or areas.
She just enjoys the process.
So
Yeah.
like in my idea, if
You're
I like
OCD.
close my eyes and I'm like, what do I get to do in a year? It's like I would love to go to Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado,
Early season.
New Mexico, fuck it, like wherever, and hunt elk for
Yeah.
an entire month.
Uh-huh. Like
and I
month
have
of September.
nothing else to do
Yep.
but hunt elk.
Yep.
And that's all I want to do for the whole month.
Dedicated.
Yes,
What's keeping
dedicated.
Drawing.
Yeah,
Well,
drawing.
and
Okay.
like we have so much work now in an amazing way. Like it's been the most incredible blessing
And then
ever.
September seems like that would be your transition month, right? From Florida to here.
But we have a lot of work.
What kind of work?
We're creating a lot of content for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
for ourselves, for our own channels, and for brands who want original content for their own channels.
Uh-huh.
And just when you like add it all together, it's
It's just a
Yeah,
lot.
a lot of work.
It's
It
a
takes
lot.
up a lot of time.
Especially
It's
to
a
be
lot.
in one of those remote Western states in
Yeah.
terms of uploads
Yeah.
and ability
Yeah,
to do.
and like, and who knows? Maybe we'll shift again in a way that like we have Uber freedom again. But it is kind of comfortable to
Sure.
to own a home in South Florida and be able to like
No doubt.
balance it all.
No doubt.
So like it goes back and forth. But okay, so if I close my eyes, it's like we're hunting somewhere in the mountains all
A month.
September
Yeah.
for elk.
It's one
and
month.
then we're hunting in Pennsylvania like well, maybe we're doing mule deer or antelope in October. And then we get to Pennsylvania late October.
And that's like, but that's your
And then
second
it's-
comfort
and then
zone,
it's
right?
the
it's your
rut.
home.
Yeah. And then it's the rut. And we're there hunting the rut. And we have friends coming up
Yeah.
intermittently.
Yeah.
And we're hunting that nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and then we're back in Florida.
Well,
and
that's
then,
hard.
And
That's
then
hard
we're
to
off
replace.
fishing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
hard to replace. Like the relational element that you have in Pennsylvania is tough. It's like not all those people are
Yeah.
going to come out to the Midwest.
They won't.
No,
They can't.
it would be us. And I don't mean even like just be us because it would be a blast. And I want to do that one day
Yeah.
for sure. That's an experience that I want to have. But it's not like something that I have planned yet.
It's the difficulty too. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Like the hunting season's short.
Well,
Right?
that
I mean, it
that
is a
the
very
thing.
condensed period. I mean, Jared and I find ourselves numerous times we're like, oh, we're gonna do this, this, and that.
Well,
Next thing you know,
honestly, dude, and when Nick asked the question, like, will you come up in October and shoot the thing?
I heard you
What-
pause.
One of the main things I'm like, I know how limited the
It also
time
depends,
is that
yeah.
time of year.
did I kill a buck in Ohio already? Am I tagged out in
Yeah.
Kentucky?
and I'm like, am I willing to give up my pursuit
Sure.
of,
I understand that.
you know what I'm saying?
Hunting season is short, and then good hunting within the hunting
Very,
season
very
is
short.
Small fraction.
We've done that.
Yeah.
I mean, normally we always have, it's like third week in November is our Kansas trip. And it's mainly so that dads have time to schedule it off. But like a lot of times that's our best time frame here in Pennsylvania or Ohio. So we're in Kansas and we're missing if we have not tagged out, it's like,
dude, it's a gamble every time. It's like, and it's good. It's awesome that we have options, but it's like we're hedging our bets and we're like, here's our best option to kill the biggest buck possible and have the best time.
And normally we're having the camaraderie experience in Kansas and hoping
They
we
overlap.
find big bucks,
They overlap.
right? But we're giving up probably the best big buck times in our other state. Yeah. And I think a lot of people kind of take it to where Jared and I are elitist on this stuff. It's just, this is where we're at, right?
Yeah. I know most of your perspectives. I'm picking on you with certain situations because I want everybody else to hear it too. I want you to throw that out there. And
And we're always, we'll be the first to say, like, Steve's are coming, like, dude, we love, the reason I hunt is for the challenge. I don't hunt for the success. I hunt because it's challenge. If I go the entire season and don't kill a deer, but I hunted the whole year, that was a success.
Good stuff, yeah.
Because I just want to be in the tree stand and enjoy that and see what's around me and learn. And that's where I have such a tough time trying to explain that to someone when they say, well, I just want to go out and kill a buck. And it's like, I get that. You have to understand, I just want to be out there. And, it's not that I don't want you to kill the buck, but I also, like, there's a lot to see and learn and experience because I've been the guy who shot the first buck I saw every year. And I go back and say, man, what did I miss? Yeah. So it's a tough piece on that. But so Amazon for the book?
Yeah,
where else?
for the pre-orders, go to Amazon. I mean, technically Barnes & Noble, Walmart, basically like everywhere you can find a book.
Like actual book on shelf.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be like on New York Times, like bestseller type thing?
How many copies can you guys sell?
I mean, a lot. So what? Call it again.
It's called The Butcher's Table
by
Allie DeAndrea.
Does it have like a picture of you on the front?
It's a back strap of a whitetail butterfly stuffed with mushrooms.
Of course it is.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can get a signed copy.
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys will get one of the first copies. Probably in August before it comes out in September.
Cool.
I'm going to try a lot of recipes, just so you know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll cook some for you in North
Dakota.
Okay.
Well, I mean, our North Dakota cooking's pretty crude.
That's fine.
We've got like wishbone and
we need like
hot sauce.
Beer and eggs. We're good.
Yeah, we have beer, eggs, hot sauce, and that's about it.
We're good.
We're pretty covered after that.
Yeah. So the cookbooks, Butcher's Table, and then everywhere on social media, Outdoors Alley.
Well, I mean, you guys have obviously grown substantially. And I think that, as you continue to engage, you have such a diverse crowd because you've got guys like us who are very much rooted and dedicated into the space. But I think that you're probably a huge gateway for people who are just saying, maybe it's me. Maybe I should.
I hope so.
And it's, that's the one area that we've continued to discuss. And hopefully people hearing this, we're not trying to discourage you when we talk about this barrier to entry or the experience side. I'd rather than get so caught off guard, because I think that's what happened to a lot of people after COVID. They got a right hook that basically said, whoa, this isn't what I expect. I thought it was going to be remoteness and peacefulness, and next thing you know, there's guys all over the place, on top. So I just want them to hear that, because there is opportunity. You just have to understand that you may face some, uphill battles out of the gate till you figure out, hey, I can avoid them by doing this.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, appreciate everybody joining us on this week HUNTR Podcast 127, Nick. I mean, it's practically 127 and a half at this point. So
thanks to Whistle Pig.
Yeah, thanks to Whistle Pig, right? Thanks, Jared. Appreciate
Got through that whole bottle. That's pretty
impressive. Nice. Yeah. So, and we'll catch you all next week.
Later.
See ya.
Bye.
Take me